you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is 4 a.m. over here on the East Coast, and we have a packed broadcast for you here today. Of course, we got the third place match with Nightmare and Way, and then we have the grand finals match with T1 and VP. I am super excited to see how all four teams perform today. You know, NA had a little bit of a rough showing yesterday, but maybe they won't be making their way to the nearest airport. They will perhaps take down Way, and in the grand finals, as you all know, I'm a large Vestola fan. Hopefully VP will be able to take it to T1, but that's not all we're having today. We got two very special guests on commentary, and we have a very unspecial guest in Matilda Smidius, the English voice actor for Brigitte, coming on later. But we got the Brit and the Bee, Leg Day and TV.
Hello there. I haven't heard that reference before.
I don't think we've ever been called the Brit and the Bee before. I like that.
Yeah, thanks.
So we're going to teach you about the Brits and the Bees.
Yeah. Came up with that one in the shower, you know, washing my hair, and I was like, wait, that's kind of funny. They both start with B.
Well, when two Rush teams love each other very much, and Brigittas both have shield bash off cooldown, things get a little spicy.
But how are you guys feeling today? What's the mood for the matches today? Anything you're particularly excited about?
For me, I mean, I'm just kind of excited about the whole thing. I've talked a couple times about how, like, the Soup Cup this time around, inviting all these other teams, kind of gives me feelings like the old OG and Apex days, back when you used to get, like, you know, Fnatic, Envy, Cloud9, and Misfits all invited out to, you know, the big Korean tournaments. And save for Envy, all the Western teams would typically get rinsed. We might have another envious situation on our hands if Virtus.Pro can pull through. The pride of the West is on the line. But regardless, I'm just excited about the feel for the whole tournament.
Yeah, as a bit of a career enjoyer, I'm here watching for the T1 Co-Park. They did not do great in the first season's playoffs. They didn't manage to make the top 4. They were our only partner team to not make it over to Asia, so we didn't see too much from T1. They're on their comeback tour now, and the propagandists in Korea have been whispering to me about how good Proud is. And from the games I've personally cast, I'm yet to see it. But I keep getting told that Proud is the guy, so I'm here to make sure that indeed Proud is the guy. To do that, he's got to beat some Europeans. How hard could it be?
Yeah, I will speak on yesterday's matches, and let's just say Proud was absolutely dominating the lobby on that Sojourn. I really wish we had a highlight reel to pull up, but I mean, honestly, if you just go back and watch the series on Ex Oblivione's YouTube channel, you'll be able to see it. It was utter domination in their game yesterday. But yeah, like I said earlier, NA not with the strongest showing, and we know that's, like, obviously they can punch up. I mean, they beat Space Station Gaming and they beat Team Liquid, the two partnered teams in NA, to make it here. Well, not make it here, but win the championship. I mean, you got Sugar Brown on the team for Space Station, so that's got to account for something, right?
I mean, if you're Nightmare, you don't necessarily have Sugar Brawn, but you do have Zera, which feels like the next best thing when it comes to North American Flex DPS. Zera was kind of going crazy yesterday. I was watching that game and I was like, okay, Nightmare is kind of out of their depth, but it feels like Zera just doesn't want to lose, so he's going to try anything he can to make sure that this is at least competitive. And he did do just that, unfortunately. Wasn't really still competitive in the end. We'll just have a little bit of copium and just say, they're prepping for Champions class.
Yeah, they don't want to share strats, you know? I mean, personally, to put it brutally, I don't care about North America. Not a competitively relevant region. They're losing to a reformed Way who don't even have Who Are You anymore. So it might well be co-powers for North America over here. Good luck in Champions Clash. I'm sure that 7th and 8th place is nice and cozy. There's probably some consolation prize money there.
Yeah,
I think we'll be fine.
I think we'll be okay. I'm a believer. As they said.
By fine, I'm gonna say like 5th, 6th. That's what, like, yeah.
The dizzying heights of mid.
Yeah, it's exactly where we belong and always will be. That's our spot right there. Middle of the pack, made for us.
Yeah, and I do want to talk about Zero yesterday because he really was a bright spot for NA in that match. He really, like you said, it felt like he was trying his hardest. It felt like he just did not want to lose, and unfortunately, that wasn't enough. But on the side of EMEA, I mean, VP with a relatively dominant showing, I would say.
Yeah, I feel like VP definitely came out swinging. I've been thoroughly impressed by who they've been bringing to the table in terms of their roster. VP, like Jwoo, I mean, the career boo just continues, unfortunately. But Jwoo, this is almost a homecoming for him, as they came up a little bit in the Korean contender scene. Never made it to Overwatch League due to the age constraints that were in place at the time. Only 17 at the moment. Always has been kind of one of those very young, potentially prodigious talents coming out of Korea, alongside, I believe, Taejong at the time. Kind of the second generation of like propers. Although Proper himself was for like third generation, so it was like fourth generation of prodigious Korean talent was coming out of this region. And I'm happy to see him popping off in this particular arena, and a large hero pool as well, which really complements how much veterancy Shockwave brings to some of those hit scan picks.
It's also kind of funny seeing that, you know, Top Dragon ran all the way to Korea to escape getting whooped by Jwoo, and nope, still had one more left in the tank for him.
Yeah, the Top Dragon, the Top Dragon Jwoo Genji was definitely feeding families yesterday, but you know, now we got T1 versus VP in the finals. I mean, who do you think's coming out on top in that? We got any early predictions on that one?
I'll go first, and I'm gonna say that I do think this is T1's tournament to win. Like you said, Legs, they did not perform the best in OWCS Korea, and this is a good opportunity for them to right that wrong. Missing out on Champions Clash definitely stings. Being 6th seed overall, I believe, finishing out the first stage of OWCS Korea, that's got to sting. They're taking out a couple of their competition along the way and making a statement going into next stage that we are not going to be counted out so easily. And I think losing to Virtus.Pro would be very, very worrying for them. And I think that they are wary of that and aren't going to let that happen no matter how game VP is.
The question is, VP on ping here, or are they in China at the moment? We've got our walkouts coming up on screen very shortly here, so you can see NTMR. Oh, in the flesh. Oh, I did not know they're actually there. That's excellent. I was gonna do a diatribe about ping and how it might be impacting some of our EMEA and NA teams here, but NTMR in studio, of course, they probably were offered a chance to practice here going into Champions Clash over in Hangzhou, so this is actually a great opportunity for them for this third place match. I personally think that VP might be in a position to win it all. I don't know if T1 have got that much better with Vigilante instead of Opener. They're still in the kind of honeymoon phase with Vigilante. And I feel like VP, going into Champions Clash, they need to actually win this. To beat a team that didn't even make it to main event Asia. Like, if you lose to a team that didn't make it to main event Asia, and you're about to go up against Crazy Raccoon and Falcons, it might be cooked, bro.
We might want to talk also a little bit about the match that's about to happen, NTMR versus Wei. I'm going to throw it right back to you, Legs, though. Any predictions on this particular matchup here? Because there are still question marks, I think, about both teams.
Yeah, we've seen Wei in suffering a little bit at the hands of having lost Who Are You. I believe going over to EMEA, Genji themselves have picked up Who Are You, which is a little bit of a throwback. Who Are You's had a little bit of involvement with some of these organizations previously. But I feel like NTMR, they should be able to walk away with this one, with Wei having these a couple of teething issues here. Because NTMR, if I'm not wrong, they were the #1 team in North America, right?
Yeah, they did.
Are these your best Americans?
I mean, it's debatable. So, like, they are the #1 seed. They did win OWCS NA, but it kind of had this, like, very shock upset kind of feel to it, you know, where everyone was looking at SSG, everyone was looking at Team Liquid, and then no one was really looking at NTMR at the tail end of it. They were like, oh, it's going to be the big two, you know, our partnered orgs. And then NTMR just comes out of nowhere and claps both of them. And it's like, okay, hang on. This is just like not one of those rosters that you can count out so easily. They're scrappy. They are able to punch up, but now we're in Korea. All right, you really, really have to punch up. And I have some questions about Wei as well. You know, you mentioned the losing Who Are You and gaining Top Dragon, whether or not that's going to be a good trade for them in the long run. I have some questions about the way in which they play up to their opponents. Because, like, yesterday, I kind of felt like they lost to Virtus.Pro because they tried too hard to play VP's game and beat them at their own game, you know? You're not going to
rush.
Yeah, like, you're not going to or maybe they thought they could, but they really tried to best Vestola on the ground tanks, and it just didn't work out, rather than trying to force a dive situation and disable the D.Va and make it harder for Vestola to play his game in the way he wants to. So it's like, it just kind of felt a little bit weird. Like, they didn't force that dive, but then in the match against Poker Face, they were just running circles around them on the dive. So it's like, okay, what's up? Like, Are you just mirroring the tank
Hello,
comps?
my name
What's
is
happening here?
Ultraviolet, and I'm the flex support for Nightmare.
Got our interview here.
네,
Right over WDG. We've got Ultraviolet on one side, I believe it's Peppy on the other.
안녕하세요. 웨이에서 탱커하고 있는 페피라고 합니다.
Peppy usually does the intro for Way's interviews as Neil Garvin generally plays for Control. And Way don't have a coach. Usually the coaches can step in for these, but I imagine they're focusing on players since Nightmare are also having Ultraviolet present here.
Yeah, don't imagine Ultraviolet is coaching this time around. Homie is definitely going to be having a seat and playing some flex support going into this game. He's
don't know if Nightmare's coach Wheats is actually in Korea at the moment. In the
he is actually
studio.
so there was a shot yesterday that had like the teams and some of the coaches like all watching. Sugar Free is also there as well. Like him and CJ were also in the audience with Unter. So the SSG. I think like all of the NA and EMEA teams, all 4 of them, are currently boot camping in Korea and then will be traveling to Hangzhou later on this week in order to actually participate in Champions Clash. But yeah, no, Wheats is there in the building with them. Unter is there. SSG is there. I assume most of the team staff is there.
Seems so, of course. Ultraviolet being translated from and to for the audience in the WDG arena. I believe it's in Hangul, if I remember correctly. And Peppy's going to, of course, be asked the same question here, which not sure what it was.
Me neither.
So, when it comes to Nightmare, are you a little bit more focused in on the NA scene? I will straight up call emoji. I have not watched any NA. Don't care, not interested.
So yeah, I've been a little bit more dialed in. Like I co-stream most of the NA and EMEA games, and I did like it was fairly competitive, especially in the top half, where like I mentioned SSG and Team Liquid were the 2 teams that everybody was looking at, but Nightmare and Timeless were also making strong cases, but there was like a point in time where they kind of got shunted out and everyone was like, okay, it's going to be Liquid and SSG again. And then in playoffs, Nightmare go on this like crazy run at the last possible second and end up winning the whole damn thing. And it's like, when you look at the caliber of this roster, like that shouldn't really be surprising, but it also is, considering the fact that they are not a partner team. They were not favored, and they beat both of the partner teams to get there.
See what Ultraviolet has to say.
I know Way's a strong team, but I think yesterday T1 was a really strong team and we were not playing how we wanted. I think today, if we play to the potential, it'll be a 3-1 victory.
We could probably infer the question was about how have you changed your tactics from yesterday's game against T1, going up against Way today. That's going to be translated back to the audience. You think that Nightmare maybe hit like a right meta, right time when it came to North America?
It's entirely possible, but they were always in that kind of like top 4, not even like a circle of suck that was going on up there, but it was more just like a circle of success, if you will. Like all of these teams are playing really well against each other, and they just kind of had that moxie in them. They came out at the right time. Maybe it was a case of right meta, right time. Maybe it was a case of just being able to be better on the day, but it was on the day that mattered. And in esports, like, that's everything.
Yeah, sometimes it's just all down to performance on the day.
See, another question for Ultraviolet.
Just support Nightmare and look forward to an exciting match.
Quite the wiggle on that microphone.
That's made of jelly. They did. That's how they do it in Korea to save some of the raw materials. Like the plastic for microphones is expensive, so they just make it out of jelly. It's
in America, we make our microphones out of microphone.
I mean, we say that now, but once the tariffs hit, we'll have to make it out of jelly too. Anyway, I think the question there was just, do you have anything you want to say to your fans? To which, obviously he's just gonna hit them with the real quick support Nightmare and hope for a good game. And looks like we're gonna kick things off on Ilios for that good game, which I think is already kind of interesting that we're going to the dive map for Control.
Yeah, I wonder if we're going to see a instant ball ban here, as we can assume that Milgaru is going to be standing here on control. And of course, Milgaru is one of the dedicated ball players that we do have in Overwatch, alongside, of course, Junbin over on Crazy Raccoon. I'm sure that you've got some over in Infected, if I remember correctly. Plays a lot of ball now.
Yeah, he sure does. And unfortunately, Infected was a part of the Team Liquid roster that did not make the cut. Nightmare took their spot and will be playing in Hangzhou. So,
also,
you
know,
know,
have a good chance of like knowing how to play ball, as it were.
At the very least against, you know, Infected's ball, but it's still one of those things where it's like there's only a couple of people in like EMEA and NA that are ballers, you know, like, but meanwhile in Korea, you know, you have your Junbins, your Milgarus. Milgaru also, by the way, again, yesterday against Pokerface was the one playing a lot of the Winston, a lot of the more traditional dive, which is kind of my question for, is that what Wei is going to try and lean into this, like on this day? Up against Nightmare? Do we try and play the dive, or are we going to try and just match Nightmare on their game? It's also going to kind of bring into question Kuffa's hero pool, because we know Kuffa also really likes a lot of those dive tanks, you know, also kind of known for a fair bit of Winston play.
Yeah, Kuffa's a nasty Winston. If anything made it out of North America to my uninterested ears, it's that Kuffa's that guy on Winston. Ultraviolet, of course, a long-tenured Ana player, but is going to be facing a real matchup here against Marco, who's been one of his breakout Ana players. We saw Goomba scout them in the final year of the Overwatch League for Florida Mayhem. We're starting to learn exactly what was seen by Goomba in Marco over the course of a couple of games. Wei punching well above their weight in Korea has been impressive for them. Lee Soo-min, of course, was actually in the head-to-head cams there up against them. Lee Soo-min does a lot of flex supporting as well. Plays a lot of Kiriko, plays a reasonable amount of Zen. Of course, we'll be picking up the Brigitte when it's necessary to protect their co-support in Marker. But one of the hallmarks of Wei is this more nebulous and wide-ranging flank-heavy style that they have alongside that ball. They like to just become a gaseous form and then coalesce onto an unaware team.
And I do think like that has been their modus operandi throughout the entirety of OWCS Korea since they came into the fold. With Who Are You in that DPS line, now swapped out for Top Dragon, I do still think that is a good trade that has a ton of potential for both sides. You know, I think Top Dragon still has a fair bit of growing to do, and this is an environment where he can grow and he can get better alongside the talent that Wei is bringing to the table. The question, though, is like, is that already bearing fruit? So far, we've seen little glimmers of it, but not quite enough to really be sold on it fully. A victory over Nightmare, I think, is a necessity if you're going to try and stay ahead of the curve here. Bans coming through for both sides. Hazard ban on one side. Nightmare with a really interesting one. The Lucio ban, I think, is telling.
Yeah, Lucio ban. Fear of God in well, of course. Lee Soo-min's not, as far as I remember, not a hugely impactful Lucio player. Doesn't play a huge amount of that, so I'm not sure if this is the ideal ban. But of course, Wei, they got rid of a ban that was really potentially the one that Nightmare wanted here by banning Hazard first. They locked out the tank role from being counterbanned, which meant that Milgaru's ball was inherently protected for this first matchup here.
Yeah, protect the ball. I definitely expect, especially on well, for Milgaru to come out with the ball. Yeah. And then, again, like the Lucio ban, I think, for both of these teams says, we're gonna play dive. You know, we don't want to have anyone trying to come out with any cheeky rush, especially when we go to Ruins, where you can kind of get away with it. Starting off on Ilios Lighthouse, on a Brigitte backlines with Winston on either side. This is what I wanted to see from Wei, and this is what I kind of expected to see out of Nightmare. This is Nightmare playing up to most of their strengths. I'm going to be curious to see what Zera swaps to once we get that Sim TP. My instincts tell me Genji. With Wei, okay, yeah, that makes a little bit more sense. The Sojourn for Aid over the Mei. Aid, by the way, has been absolutely pounding on the hit scan lately. I think the Lethal versus Aid is going to be another head-to-head to keep an eye on.
Yeah, Lethal being able to get those flash fans onto Winston might make it a little bit more dangerous for Milgaru to try and take these Winston dives, but the long-range poke that can come out of that Sojourn really does just keep everyone at danger for such a while. For now, Marker just playing up on these safe areas. It's going to be very difficult to actually try and assault them with a Cassidy instead of a Sojourn because you don't have that leap to get up onto high ground. That mostly puts a lot of responsibility onto Winston here. Well-placed shield comes through from Cuffer. Just got off aid from healing for a moment and forced them down onto the low ground. But for now, it's all about that poke as NTMR have got their toes in onto a point. Lethal, super low, well-delivered nade. Finished off by Milgaru, who's then put into nap time. Little timeout. Aid trade on the other side. Both these Winstons are getting the value, but when it comes to the positions, right now, Marco's just unsurmountable up on the high ground. That's a little bit of a wry nade thrown elsewhere. Lee Soo-min doesn't quite get the environmental kill they were looking for as Admirable bashes back on.
Yeah, Wave find the flip midway through all of that, though, and they're going to lose their backline as well. Like, Ultraviolet going down there is going to be, yeah, that's rough. NTMR are going to get the first cap, take 11%, but Way are going to be able to surpass that and gain control, start to tick it up from here on out. And they've also managed to match UV in terms of the charge to the nano boost, and look at the difference in Primal Rage charge. This is going to be a huge nano that comes out from Maka here, and again, like you said, still just on the high ground, untouchable. Like, no one even really has the time of day to even look at him.
Okay, little swapping over onto the Ash here. I quite like how they're going to be able to move between these vertical planes a little bit more easily. Mark is now on the low ground now. A touch more accessible. Cuffer hit with the nano. Actually went for a more proactive leap up onto the high ground. Aid is going to start closing the distance. Doesn't have a rail charge just yet. Instantly forced to back off. Gets given plenty of damage. Lee Soo-min stuck by Zera here to try and turn things around. And it seems like Way have fallen apart in the midst of all this.
Yeah, Zera just goes in, kills 2, and that's absolutely massive. I think the nano onto Cuffa was a little bit ill-advised with where the jump actually ended up playing out. But hey, you know, you can't argue with the results, even if it didn't look quite as flashy. Taking that high ground, making sure that there was no way Maka could get back up there. Absolutely massive. Now you're going to have the Primal Rage that Milgaru already expended. NTMR should have the tools they need in order to hold on to this, and they also have Zera on the prowl. I think going to be hunting mostly to try and keep Top Dragon in check, but also potentially trying to get that rally out of Lee Soo-min early.
Oh, Cuffer forced to use the Primal Rage, got maximum value out of that one, going after a Sojourn, lost the target for a moment, and now it's the Brigitte who's earned the ire of the Winston, leaping after him, but it seems like for now there's going to be plenty of survivability. Marker falling low, healed up by Lee Soo-min, or picking up a Mega, who knows which one. Aid up onto the high ground, going to be difficult to assault at range. Lethal was chased into the crosshairs of Aid, and it seems like the Railgun's going to hit pay dirt here. Could be Control flipping on over, just tippy toes in for Admiral, and for the Tracer, just try and keep it contested. But their lives on the line for percentage points gained, but in the end, this is going to be going the way of Way.
That's a pretty rough scenario for NTMR, though. They use both their stall ults, and they're only going to be able to get up to 65%. They're going to have Bob, which should also be able to stall out a little bit more, but you're going to really need to flip control of the point in order to make that as effective as possible. The only silver lining is that you have a small window before Way build up to any of their ultimates. The bad news is that window is very, very small, and once it closes, there is about to be a lot coming online. First of all, Maka's Nano, that's going to be a potential map win condition for Way. NTMR have to do something about that and fast.
Bob getting proactive. Marker for now a little bit cut off from that LOS on the Brigitte. So instead, hands over Nano, allows these two to become the bruiser he's always wanted to be, but everyone simply flees away. If they don't want any of that smoke coming through from the Brig, just a little bit of a reposition here from Way. Aid moves over into safety after getting antied from a very aggressive angle on the side of Ultraviolet. That's going to be a Nano coming on through to try and save Cuffer from the sins of the past. It seems like there's going to be plenty of damage delivered. Force out Lee Soo-min and Marker for but a moment. Could be a flip over coming through from the side of NTMR, but Milgaru right now is making a meal of this Ana, moving over into the corner, smack after smack, delivered to the back of Ultraviolet's head. Come join us on the point. It's a fun over here. It's a party. And at the end, Lethal catches the whip shot into the wall. The burst damage given over by the perk, handing out the cookies like a baker on Sunday. And that's going to be Cuffer with the Primal Rage, doing their last moment dance on the point to try and get that last little bit of contest. Has to stay on it at all times, but a nasty body block is going to keep them off. Cuffer can't touch, and NTMR drop the first point.
A little bit clunky from Way. That Nano onto Lee Soo-min, I think, came out a little bit too early. NTMR really didn't have to engage that at all, but it was even more clunky out of NTMR. Like, you saw Cuffa go in, get slept, and then gets the Nano from Ultraviolet to save his life. I don't even know how UV was in position to get that Nano onto him, much less, you know, for them both to live to tell about it. But again, like, you're expending all of these resources in the pre-fight and not really getting a whole lot out of it, not able to actually turn the fight on its head. And when you finally do get your rally back online, you finally do get your Primal Rage back online, and you have the ability to make these fights last longer, have the ability to stall them out and potentially flip them in your favor, you don't got any reinforcements. Lethal got whip shot off the map. Zera tried everything he possibly could, fell a little bit short. It was just Admiral and Kuffa, and that is not enough. But hey, we're going to stick with it now. No more Sojourn from Aid. It's going to be a Cassidy Mirror, Pistols at Dawn for Lethal and Aid, and everybody playing up here on the windmill. I don't know if I've ever seen this formation before.
It's going to change the dynamic of this matchup, though, moving over onto the Cassidy. There's no longer a mobility gap in favor of Wei, and that could force Marker into some more exposed positions. I think one of the main differentiators in that previous map was that Marker was rarely under siege from Kuffa, being able to play in much safer positions, having those high ground angles onto their own Sojourn. For now, though, it seems like the real danger of Aid is just keeping Kuffa at bay. Flash fan, classic play right there, breaks the shield. Lee Soo-min, though, hit with an anti, and absolutely torn apart by the Piranhas of Nightmare. Way still close to a cap here, but it's the last second contest coming through from a Tracer. Recall will give away the point for a moment, and Kuffa's just a moment too shy of being able to cap that one out. Lethal spots the Winston lurking up above, drops in with the shield, gets antied and fanned as well, so has to go back over onto the LOS of their Anamaka. Cut off for a moment, though. Well played by Kuffa to try and keep them off the point, and that's an easy flip there for Nightmare. And once again, it's a touch coming in too late from a Winston. Tracers dance around. It's a waltz of death, yes, as they try and levy the pulse pistols for each other at dawn. Milgaru gets out of there. It's not a well-placed roll, actually, from Aid. Actually isolates himself by combat rolling away. Kuffa given over with the nano. Plenty of damage onto Marker. Double nano for themselves. Excellent staying power. Lee Soo-min getting involved and doing the melee as it's needed. However, only 2 members of Nightmare remain, and Kuffa probably not going to be long for this world. Nice dodge on an incoming pulse bomb. Great heads-up play from Lee Soo-min.
Lee Soo-min going absolutely crazy here. That entire fight, by the way, dictated by the Ana nades that go back and forth and the nanos that come out. Nightmare, though, just on stalled a clock right now. Like, Kuffa trying to pop the Primal Rage to stay alive, but all he's going to get for it is up to 37%, and Wei have flipped the point back over. They're going to have a Deadeye and a rally going into this next fight. Admiral should be able to match that rally, but once again, in order to get full value out of that, you want to be in control of the point. You're maybe looking for Ultraviolet to take that same aggressive position he had before, hit some big nades like this one onto Aid. There we go. That's how you kick the fight off.
Critical unawareness there from both Aid and Marker. They just did not hear the Winston coming. Lee Soo-min slapped off the map, potentially. Either way, a killing blow from a sleep dart is unorthodox. It is not what you want to see if you're a Wei fan. This is a clean fight for Nightmare. Just losing 2 to Top Dragon is showing off why they're picked up for this roster. But how did Kuffa run the gauntlet?
I mean, it's Ultraviolet. It's Ultraviolet getting that big nade, Ultraviolet getting that big sleep. It's all about the Anas and who's able to hold favorable position to get those nades. The sad part for Nightmare is they lose UV at the end of that fight, so he's not going to be set up. So you don't really have to worry about that so much if you're Wei. In fact, you have an opportunity if you're Top Dragon to go in and try and just completely negate him from ever taking that position in the first place. You can already see the pressure coming out, and Zera's going to fall.
Oh, early pick onto Zera. Big stick as well. Shuts down the rally from Admiral. There should be a clean sweep here from the side of Wei. Nightmare are wiped off the point and only losing Milgaru for their trouble.
Yeah, no threat of the nade means Top Dragon has free reign, goes in, kills Ultraviolet, gets a big stick as well. Just absolutely diffs. I mean, Top Dragon and Zera just go in blow for blow in this one. I'm loving how even this feels. Like, it feels like, looking at this, a lot of people, especially, we saw the audience prediction, like 88 to 18%. That's not how math works. Well, caster math, whatever. Everyone was like heavily in favor of Wei, but at this juncture, midway through this map, it feels super even. It's, again, being dictated by the Anas, who has favorable positioning. And right now, Ultraviolet is back on his perch.
Milgaru gets aggressive with the Primal Rage. This is going to be dangerous against the Deadeye. Still undeterred for now, comes back in. Just a quick little love tap, you know. Cheeky with the nade, doesn't actually hit anything, though. Hands over. Oh, good night, sweet prince. Bye-bye, Kuffa.
There's your kiss goodnight.
While he is going to spend most of the nano just channeling that Deadeye, this might well be donezo already. Top Dragon has been taken out, though. Well-placed shot from Lethal. Kuffa will be able to return to Sweet, of course, off the back of this. Aid unable to roll away from a well-placed pulse bomb. What a clutch there from Zera, and instantly decimated. Just smacked into the wall by the Brigade. It's going to be a double here from Lee Soo-min. The fan, the hammer gets so much value, and Kuffa's coming around the back. It's a slap to the back of the head, and Wei, they thought they had every advantage, but there was such surprise coming.
That's absolutely disgusting, the amount of damage that Cassidy can do. And speaking of Cassidy's, like you said, spending all of that nano and Deadeye time just channeling that up to try and secure the kill onto Kuffa feels good, but they had lost Milgaru at the beginning of that fight, so they didn't really have any staying power. Sure, he got back first, but once Kuffa comes back, he pops the Primal Rage and makes his presence felt.
Oh, nice anti there onto cover. Actually doesn't expend too much in the way of space. However, Anna in a corner. Dangerous here. Uses Vinay to heal themselves up. Has to use it a little bit more defensively than proactively. And that means Lethal is isolated. There's no LOS from the Anna onto their Wayward Cass. A good stick here could be everything. And it's everything delivered. Top Dragon gets it done with next day delivery. And while it's going to be a wild attempt here from Zera to try and turn it around, we've already lost control of the point. And Way are now standing on business, not allowing cover to touch at all. Zera taps in from the back. It's a cheeky one, but Top Dragon's on the case, and with the Dragon's hunting, he finds his prey. Way start off strong on Ilios.
So does anyone still have any questions about this Top Dragon Who Are You trade? Because I gotta say, at least, you know, when we're seeing Top Dragon on the Tracer, I don't think I have any further questions, Your Honor. I think I fully understand Way's ideas when it comes to making this trade. Yeah, at times, sure, Who Are You was the guy, but Top Dragon can be your guy too in these clutch moments, and it's not just on the Genji, it's on the Tracer as well, it's on the Mei, it's on all these other heroes, going absolutely ballistic at the perfect time. And just as I was getting ready to shout out, like, all right, I'm talking a lot about the Honest here, I'm not giving Lee Soo-min nearly enough love. I want to see if Admiral has what it takes to try and mash up on that Brig. Admiral pops rally, Top Dragon puts that to bed with a pulse bomb, and as soon as that pulse bomb lands, soon as that stick comes out, the map is just done. The rest of the kills are just a gift basket.
It was close as it comes, Siebes, but we've still got so much left to go here at the SOOP Cup number 2. Way start off on map number 1, and we'll be back with map number 2 after these highlights.
하게 보고 있어 트레 포인트 먹으면 돼 트레 필이야 트레 확인 오케이 됐다 목 따그리야 포인트 가는 거 들어보면 돼 석영 멀어 트레 시끄럽다 정말 아였어 나이스다 나이스 잘하는데 승원아
Cup. We're here for 2025 Season 1 in our third place match. We've got our internationally invited team Nightmare going up against Asia and Korea mainstay Way.
And I gotta say, like, Nightmare didn't look too bad on the first map there, but I want to definitely highlight Top Dragon. As we were watching those highlights back, I realized Top Dragon stuck the rally with the Pulse Bomb, not once, but twice. So at least 2 of those fights that Way won, you can attribute entirely to this new addition. So at least for me, on the eye test right out the gate, the Top Dragon very well might be the guy for this team now. And if they can keep going, I mean, it might be that 3-1 that Ultraviolet was talking about if Nightmare can get some wind under their wings. Otherwise, Way might be taking this 3-0. Nightmare's map pick, they're going to take us to Circuit Royale, and this one is always an interesting one in a hero ban meta because it can go about 100 different ways depending on who you ban out. I expect both of these teams are likely going to want to play the Sigma. For that reason, I expect to see Peppy coming in for Way. If that sub hasn't already been announced, I'm sure it will be. And what do you know? There it is.
Yep, co-streamers galore for the for WCS Korea have been singing the praises of Peppy for months upon months as a legendary Sigma player. We'll be a while before they hear about them over in the depths of the Normie West, because of course he isn't going to be at Champions Clash. But Peppy is a nasty Sigma player, and I don't know if we're going to be seeing Widowmakers exchanging here on Circuit Royale. Maybe I'm too much of an old head who remembers the ancient dwarven mines of Widowmaker that we had on this map in the Age of Yonder. But Aid has had a couple of performances on Widow that were noteworthy, mostly on Havana. Has essentially solo held Havana by themselves previously, but I've heard that Lethal is also a little bit nasty on the flick scans, and of course was showing a predilection towards Cassidy, which would indicate they're happy to go for that.
I mean, Aid had some absolutely, frankly, disgusting shots yesterday, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Way trying to come out with that Widowmaker. We'll see if Lethal is up to the task, because I think Lethal, and I think a little bit more of those, like, mid-range hit scans. The Widow isn't always the first one that comes to mind. You know, it's the Sojourns, it's the Ashe. As of late, as we've started to see Cassidy come into the fold a little bit more, Lethal's been happy to pick that up. But we're going to have to see if he is up to the task of mirroring this Widowmaker, or if Nightmare just want to ban it outright. They do also get first ban. We've also seen a lot of teams banning the Pharah on this map as well, just because, like, you know, for whatever reason, even though it feels like the hit scan map, some teams want to play Pharah these days. I think Way is definitely one of the teams that would absolutely go for that if given the chance. Top Dragon has been spotted on the Pharah more than once or twice by some bird watchers, so it could happen. It's going to depend, again, on the bans for me, which way we go, but I do want to say, again, Aid on the Widowmaker is going to be a threat if that is not banned out.
Yeah, that's going to certainly be something that needs to be considered here between these teams. I wouldn't mind seeing something like maybe an Ana ban as well. Admittedly, we see a lot of double flex support on these maps. Maybe there's a word we could get rid of for Zen, but Admiral's pretty happy playing the Zen. I'm not as aware of where Nightmare tend to flex over when it comes to their double flex support. I assume there's going to be an Admiral Zen with a bat kind of angle. Could be too much of an old head, though.
I mean, I yearn for the days of the BAP Zen. Yesterday Virtus.Pro we're going with BAP Illauri, which is another way that you could go with it in the modern era. You know, it's yeah, quite disgusting, especially when you get Gala on the Illauri. He's one of those players that likes to reach for Illauri when he can. It's a rare breed of support player that actually enjoys playing Illauri. It's the Jaws archetype, I've heard. I don't know that that's something Nightmare necessarily is going to reach for. Like, I think your assessment's a little bit more correct, where you could just go for the BAP Zen. I've also seen some teams ban out the Lucio to try and avoid people trying to play Rush on this map, because that is doable in some situations. Not the best, not ideal. We also did get a Lucio ban earlier on, so I wouldn't put too much stock in that. I'm still, like, if I had to guess, I would say we probably see a repeat of the bans we saw when Way played Virtus.Pro on this map yesterday. I'm going to go out on a limb, say Ramatra and Pharah ban, if I had to predict, and then both teams probably going to reach for either that BAP Zen backline or BAP Illauri.
Yeah, would not surprise me. Circuit Royale coming up on your screens. I want to cast minds back as well while we've got a moment. Oh, never mind. Go ahead in. Let's have a look at these bans. It's Nightmare, of course, they're going to be banning first. Remember that whatever role you ban first is then protected from a follow-up ban. They're going to be getting rid of the Zen, which makes sense. Lee Soo-min loves to play some Zen.
Yeah, so, and the Genji on the other side. Interesting. So, I think, to me, this indicates Wei are probably going to try and put Top Dragon on the Mei and just try and section off the enemy tank, whether that's Ramatra, whether that's Sigma, we'll have to see. That's going to be, I think, mostly up to Kuffa or whoever ends up being on the attack first. I don't actually know which side it's going to be, but I think the Zen ban is interesting because it does kind of play a little bit more into the potentiality for that Bap Ilyari, maybe Bap Brig. Maybe we go for something a little bit more traditional. Maybe we don't actually go for the Sigma Mirror with the poke. Maybe we go for the Rush instead in some way. I'm not sure. I think the Mei would play into that though, if that is what I'm like. If I'm looking at my crystal, if that's what I'm seeing, if Top Dragon's on the Mei, Rush is on the table.
Could well be. Let's get stuck in. For now, hovering over on the Ramatra. Don't know if we've got cheers. We do.
I will never not have a soft spot in my heart for Korean lands and those fighting chants from the crowd. Shouts out to everybody there in the building right now. Honestly, wish I could be there. I've never gotten the opportunity to be at a Korean LAN. Someday I will be allowed to travel to the great nation of Korea and sit in on an Overwatch LAN. I am sure. This looks okay. Don't look at Wei's composition right now. That's not real. This from Nightmare is about what I was kind of expecting. Ramatra and the Pharah with a Juno Lucio backline. Yeah, they wanna go for Rush. They also want to deny Aid from having this angle, but he doesn't really seem to care. There we go. Life Weaver just to pull him back in. So the Widow isn't actually going to stick. So in a roundabout way, Nightmare have kind of denied the Widow duel altogether.
That's probably a W for them. Sarah playing an off angle here. Is going to be forced out temporarily by Top Dragon, who, as I remember... Oh, never mind. Oh, Aid just builds up themselves a well-placed rail off the tank. Then rolls up onto high ground. Oh, a little miss, however. Second shot just as good. Moving over now onto Virtuno, and Aid's cleaning up.
I'm not really sure what Admiral thought he was going to accomplish there. Just watched Zera die and thought, yeah, I'll have some of that too. Don't you worry. Whether it's the Widowmaker or it's the Sojourn, again, Aid on the hit scan has been a force to be reckoned with when it comes to Wei. And again, you also have Top Dragon on the Pharah mirroring Zera right now. And I mean, even though Zera is ahead on the ult charge a little bit, Top Dragon is going to have the benefit of positioning as now Nightmare have to come around this corner to reapproach the cart. Wei have everything they want right now. You know, they just got to keep the momentum up and keep setting Aid up to hit these shots.
Lethal temporarily slowed here, but we'll be able to get out with full charge on the rail. An exchange of guys crossing their arms, just doing their best to deny incoming damage. They're, of course, not going to be suffering from damage drop-off, so they can poke from fairly far away in relative safety. However, safety might not be on the cards when Aid started charging up these rails. Kuffa doing their best to get in the way of this. Sarah taken out by a well-placed punch from Peppy. Managed to get too low down to the ground, maybe using that field to drag down a wayward Pharah. And now Top Dragon's coming in to get involved with the melees. There's never something you want to be seeing as a Ramatra when the Pharah feels that brazen and brave. And Lethal going to be the last one to fall on down. First point capped rather speedily by Wei.
Yeah, 4.5 minutes to get through point B on Circuit Royale. Like, you'll absolutely take that. And you're also going to get this forward positioning and just completely deny Nightmare from being able to retake that high ground, which is just like icing on the cake, you know? You're going to have to send some people back to get some cart progress, as Nightmare will get the opportunity to retake, but it's not going to be on their terms. I mean, and Wei, have a look at that ult bank. That's pretty imposing right now. Like, literally all they have to do, hit 1Q, force that nano out of Ultraviolet, and they can snowball this into an easy cap.
Overclock on the cards here. Oh, the long-range damage. Oh, that's a big nano coming through, though, onto the Ramatra. Booped in, but look at all this healing coming through as well. Lee Soo-min's already down. You can't stand up to that. Oh, however, the Pharah coming in with extra damage. Managed to take out Admiral, following in with the Orbital Ray right now. Peppy doing their best to avoid the incoming damage. Simply crosses their arms at Zera. My gamer pose is better than your high-explosive rockets. And Wei, after a big investment, I believe all 5 ultimates walk away.
That felt so awkward for Maka to, like, pop that orbital right towards the end of that fight, because I thought Wei were done, but, I mean, they're able to get the value. They're able to get the fight win off the back of that, and Nightmare, I bet they're wishing they had actually spent a little bit more to try and keep that one in contention. Lethal with a nice rail shot there off the overclock onto Top Dragon, but this is a weird place to be popping ults. Like, at this point, you're going to have to try and go for a spawn hold. Kuffa, well, the kill there onto Wei or onto Aid, taking down Lee Soo-min as well. Peppy might get staggered out here. It's gonna have to be a spawn hole. I think at this point, Nightmare have decided, all right, we need to bleed as much time off the bank as possible because now we're in point C. Gonna pop the Annihilation as well.
Peppy's still alive, by the way. Homie's just in his little safe space over here. Maybe potentially walled off from the healing by both the Mei and the Ramatra shield, of course. But Wei are having trouble removing themselves from the spawn point. Of course, it's got very mono-directional exits, so it can be locked down fairly easily by a well-intentioned rush team.
Yeah, but like, you know, look at Nightmare. They've spent pretty much everything just to try and keep Wei locked up in this corner, and that's very temporary. Like, Wei are now back on the cart. They've got Top Dragon over on the Mei, sectioning off Kuffa there. I mean, you need to try and keep Kuffa alive, keep this cart stalled. And Nightmare are doing a really good job of it, by the way. Losing Zera is going to make it difficult to keep going, though.
Yeah, without that zero damage, things are going to get a lot more difficult in this tank v tank duel. At the moment, Kuffa potentially isolated, has to pop the Nemesis form just to try and get out of there, crossing their arms, avoiding the damage. Nano goes over. They think that it might well be turnable, and Lee Soo-min going down would certainly be a hallmark of that. The Harbinger of Doom has arrived, and they're named Peppy right now, and Peppy gets it done with a well-placed headshot off the back of that Nano beam. Top Dragon just goes for a party on the Carty, and it's going to be 3:20 left.
You can see how badly Kuffa wanted that kill onto Lee Soo-min, even tossed the Ravenous Vortex out, like, hopelessly trying to catch a little bit of extra damage onto the Brigitte, but it just wasn't enough. And Nightmare don't have the tools. Peppy's gonna pop the Annihilation in spawn, take down Lethal, and with 3 minutes on the clock, look at how close this cart is to finishing.
Slowed down temporarily. Kuffa can't escape, at least has their head going the other way off the map during the overclock. Oh, Aid gets double booped, but now all of these soft targets have to present themselves on the card to try and stop it from moving forward. Lethal too far away and can't face up to Lee Soo-min in that widescreen shield anyway. 21-9 victory. So it's going to be 2 minutes and 49 on the clock.
Yeah, this map is over. Unless Nightmare get, like, an all-timer attack, like, this map is over. 249 on Circuit Royale is, like, unheard of. That's an eternity in Circuit Royale years. I don't know how time works in Monaco, but, I mean, like, that's insane. It really felt like outside of that little spawn hold at the beginning of Point C, there was never really a point in time where Nightmare had their feet firmly planted beneath them. They were constantly on the back foot, constantly spending ultimates just to try and hold Wei down, but they just couldn't do it, and then they end up snowballing and staggering out and popping ults and not getting enough for it, going super, super aggressive again. Like, I think to Kuffa, really trying hard to get that kill onto Lee Soo-min, investing all of the resources to confirm that kill, being unable to, and then just getting caught out by Peppy. So even though we're not seeing the Sigma head-to-head like we thought we would see when we saw Peppy come in, the Ramatra from Wei still looks absolutely stellar, still looks unstoppable. In fact, Nightmare had no way of even stopping it.
Difficult to try and get in the way. It's difficult to watch as well when you're looking at like a team with a Lucio losing control of these Ramatra engagements. Sometimes a little bit further from ideal than you would like. Admiral's a super veteran Lucio as well. Lots of experience in kind of running these engagements, of course, alongside Harley on London Spitfire for a good amount of time. We'll have to see maybe if it's just an offensively favored comp, however. Aid already has themselves a fully charged rail. Really would love to punish Lethal early and establish that dominance, as a rail going the other way does not hit pay dirt. It's a pair of misses, though, and it seems like Nightmare have finally found themselves a foot for the gas pedal.
Yeah, they found themselves some liquid courage, I'm sure. Kuffa just pushing forward. You got Lethal, finds the shot onto Top Dragon, looking to try and follow that up with another kill onto Aid. At this juncture, with how much cart progress we've gotten, if Nightmare get another pick, that might honestly just be enough to secure the cart.
Kuffa's got a good corner to play around here as well. Incoming block of a torpedo means that not too much damage is taken, and Lethal halfway towards that overclock. The long-range poke here from Top Dragon could be ruinous towards anyone who does not mind their corners and their angles here. Peppy doing their best to try and keep this one contested. I believe that was a big collat coming through, and that's going to mean a little dearth of healing. The deficit needs to be addressed. What is Peppy doing back here? Where is bro going? Homie's just all the way off in Narnia, an all-expenses paid trip to Botswana, and while there may well have been a little bit of courage from Aid there, don't think it's going to be enough. 5:15 now for Nightmare. Offensive powerhouses.
Yeah, there's a fine line between, you know who else had courage? Icarus, all right? Like, I think Peppy went, like, way too deep there, just kind of fed his brains out, and now Nightmare, like I said, same situation as Wei, where you have like 5 minutes in the time bank. Nightmare don't have quite as much of a grasp on this entire point as Wei did, that's fair, but they still have enough presence to, again, deny the high ground, the most oppressive part. Zera going in deep with the barrage.
Choosing the one and done, gets Peppy super low. Peppy, of course, now has to play within the orbital ray, going all the way towards the back with the Annihilation. It's an all-in investment here from Waver, doing everything they can to try and regain stability. And it seems like the purchase has been good, kept the receipt for that mid-ground. And Cuffer is surely going to be just staggered out here. And now you've got to try and attack one of the most defensively favored areas in the game.
Orbital Ray and Annihilation is just a crazy ultimate combination. That's all, like you said, like they're all in, but they're fine. Like, because they're coming up on all 3 of their other ults. That's all they need is that Annihilation and that Orbital Ray. Nightmare also mirrored the Orbital Ray and didn't get a whole lot out of it. So they're going to be relying on a naked Annihilation and lethal to pop off with this OC. But again, you're going up against Aid, who has been phenomenal on all hit scans right now. You got to be lights out. Like, it's time to hit the shots, Lethal. Let's go.
Perfection demanded. Will he answer the call for a hero? Zera put on notice by a well-placed Rail. And Top Dragon for now just playing a little bit lower. Doesn't want to expose their head and allow Lethal to pop off. There's the overclock up there. Beautiful barrage right on top of Lethal's head. And Ultraviolence the next one to go on down. Even just going to be adding to the Symphony of Death is Aid with the overclock. And Rails all find themselves their targets. Well, there are 2 players down from Way in both the supports. I mean, you can't hold too far forward. That's another good hold.
Nightmare dying on cart. I mean, smart that they're able to hold on to the Annihilation and the rally so they can make this next fight go long, and Wei don't really have anything to do about it. They kind of just have to concede whatever ground Admiral and Cuffa decide is their want to take. That said, though, like, Aid and Top Dragon don't really feel like they're under all that much threat right now. They're just have a shooting gallery. The rally is going to come out. They're going to have to give a little bit of space, but just going to be walking right into the line of fire.
Oh, the Annihilation as well. Lee Soo-min cornered, can't stand up to the damage for the Ramatras, bringing to the table Aids the next one to fall. And that's a little bit of a ravening vortex to slow everyone else down. Try and grab themselves a little bit of extra damage onto Peppy.
Keeping 3 on card as well. They might be able to get the cap here if they can deal with Peppy, because Peppy wants to go back in and try and get another touch. Is the support there? Is the touch there? Vortex comes out. Orbital Ray as well. Peppy wants this.
An exchange of rays. Maka going down is absolutely perfect. Zera grabs both for supports. The healing's gone. And while Annihilation might well be on the table, Peppy knows that it would be a foolhardy investment at this point to go in and try and make that happen. Rocketry too advanced for the defense of Wei, and Nightmare get on to last.
Nightmare are playing this so smart. They are not investing anything more than they need to win any one given fight, and they are happy to concede ground where they need to. There is no chance that they match Wei's time bank at this juncture. I mean, you know, like less than 30 seconds, or a little over 30 seconds to go in order to match that 249. I don't think Nightmare are beating that, but if they can even get the full cap here, we go to extra innings, and you got to be ecstatic about that if you're a Nightmare fan. You are putting up another competitive performance here on Circuit. Nice little concussive mine there, tries to pull Aid back in, can't hit the finish there, but Zera is lurking a threat here, like not letting Wei have any position that they want.
Oh, Top Dragon dunked on by the barrage. A little bit of BM maybe, but in the end, results are all that count. Lethal almost has the overclock, ready to go. Got a wonderful shooting gallery to try and play with after that. Shield of the Ramatra falls on down as well. Wei have had to give over so much space here, and Mark and Lee Soo-min already low. Surprise onto Zera. Aid's going to pop the overclock here to try and turn it around. Oh, the barrage would be everything, but Mac is actually going to be the one to clean this up in the end. Eyes here onto Ultraviolet. A well-placed shot. Aid, where are the hands, my guy? Where are the hands? They're not to be seen. Lethal takes them out elsewhere, but fear not, the rest of Wei are here to, like a mummy bird, chew up your food.
That's such a weird overclock from Lethal. You can see he's like entirely alone on an island right now. Just, yeah, Wei are keeping him as a pet right now. Gonna finally put him out of his misery. And, you know, Wei expended their entire ult bank right now. They're coming up on the rally, but Admiral can match that, and Nightmare have extra coming up not too long after that. I feel like if you had held on to that overclock, your win condition for this next fight would just be set Lethal up, bait that rally out, and just chunk through it with all that damage. But unfortunately, that's no longer in the cards. Now Nightmare have to just completely brute force this. In order to do that, they have to clear the DPS off the high ground, and that is Zera's task to try and do. And you can even see how wary Aid is right now. Like, has an angle on Nightmare's backline, and Zera has to go all the way around to try and challenge it.
Oh, Admiral there to help out as well. It'll be a weird shield pocket to give over to a Pharaoh. Ravenous Vortex grabs Top Dragon directly out of the air, but still enough fuel in the tank to get away from this annihilation. Should expire as everyone manages to get themselves away from those tendrils. The Zoom-in's rally not going to be getting too much value, though. Peppy's in the back yet again. What is brother doing back here? He's lost. Man got the wrong map. There's no other way to put it. However, everyone else has the healing and the staying power courtesy of the orbital ray. Everyone else has managed to spread away, though. And Nightmare now have presence on the car, with A being removed from the high ground by a well-placed rocket from Zera. Lethal's just got himself a shooting gallery to play with. Marker too low to do too much. Top Dragon, yeah, he's got big ambitions because of a tiny little health ball, and surely he can't survive all this. Just going into the Hornet's Nest, get stung to death. And while Venture, they might well be ambitious, they don't have the speed to contest.
It's going to be 1 minute left on the time bank for Nightmare. They finish under a minute, but we're going to get bumped up. That's going to be, I think, yeah, 2:54 now for Wei. Erroneously, I said, you know, when I saw Wei's time bank, this map was over, but I did not anticipate Wei just having a seeming inability to keep Peppy on a leash. I don't know why he keeps going in super deep. I think, you know, in that last fight, he goes in deep just trying to get a fight with the backline, try and use the Nemesis form to just take down Admiral, but Admiral had the rally. Like, surely that was tracked, and surely once that comes out, like, you have to have a plan B. You have to be able to deal with that. Peppy had no plan. All right, he just went in, swung, and once the Nemesis was gone, he's like, well, I'm out of options. I didn't think I'd get this far.
Didn't have a step 2 to this plan. Step 1W.
Step 2 profit? I don't know. I mean, that'll maybe work on the attack if Peppy can just like keep that aggression up and Wei are able to augment it. But on the defense, you know, you do have to like hold your ground. You're not always going to be able to just, you know, send all the troops up alongside the rest of your team in order to try and make something out of that. You know, a little bit of disjointedness from Wei. This composition for a 1 minute hold is a little bit aggressive, busting out the Bastion, the thing all tank players hate to see. Surely Kuffa will have, at this point, he definitely knows. How does Nightmare respond to this? With a dead Zera, that is how.
Yeah, Aid is a little bit of a Bastion enthusiast as well. And of course, in overtime, getting to spawn with both perks means you instantly have that old tank mode. And my goodness, Top Dragon gets taken down by Lethal with extreme prejudice. Leaves him in very much a lot of danger here. But Aid is able to relieve some of that pressure with a long-range poke of those sticky nades. And for now, it's just going to be all about giving up that space. You can't afford to lose Aid here. Make sure that you don't get the ideal peek on to Lethal.
The problem is, without any sort of ranged hit scan, Nightmare have the ability to take these fights at range. They don't have to engage the Bastion head-on just yet. They will at some point. Once they get around this corner, it's going to get a lot more dicey, but if Lethal can find another snipe on the Top Dragon, or anyone else for that matter, especially Aid would be just gravy, they'll be able to get something out of it. There we go! There's Aid!
Gravy delivered. Zera now has themselves a perfect angle. So hard to try and get them off of this one. Going to be a lot of damage going into the back towards the zoom in, and Marker Peppers had to give away a huge amount of space here as well. A recontest probably not on the card at this point. Ravening Vortex is all that can be offered. Cuff has to be careful not to go too far out here. This is not the ideal sightline for their healers. However, this could be the moment to go forward. Cuff without a Nemesis form is a little bit more vulnerable. And Top Dragon and Aid are already a little bit lower as well. This needs to be a mid-air here from Top Dragon. However, Peppy's going to be the one to clean it up in the end. Aid and Lee Sumin already having gone down, though. Cuff is trying to just chase down the Pharaoh, looking for that mid-air burst on the Ravening Vortex to drag them from the air. And Peppy, once again, this guy's not to be trusted with movement abilities. There's a reason we like him on Sigma, but not on the other tanks. Peppy's just going to roll on forward.
This time Peppy wanted to go grab a Mega. This time Peppy wanted to go grab a Mega. He's got the Annihilation now on the point, so there's at least a little bit of method to this madness at this juncture, but I mean, he's still getting burned down, and Nightmare is still getting all of this cart progress. Zera's got the barrage. You've got the orbital ray that Maka expended in the last fight.
Well, that just happened. I think that was Top Dragon's barrage. A little flash in the pan. It's like when you wake up from a dream and you can't remember what you've just seen. Lethal doing their best to stay on cart. Overtime continues to burn on down. That wicket do be burning. And Admiral do be falling at the hands of Marker. Aid manages to take out their counterpart here. And while it will be a little dance from Juno to try and keep it contested, that's going to be all she wrote. Wei will hold on second.
But that is not, like, impossible for Nightmare to be able to match that. You know, like, they can absolutely hold that. If they go out, you know, with something similarly aggressive, try and go for a spawn hold, bleed as much time off the bank as they can, if they get even, like, I'd say a minute and a half off of the point A hold, this is still very much so holdable because you do have access to that high ground. You do have access to that little gap in the road there where you can keep your long-range hit scans. You can keep Lethal up there and continue to be a threat and force Wei to try and deal with you. I think it's going to put a lot of pressure on the Top Dragon if Wei decide to stick with this Pharah. You know, because again, you're going to be going up against Lethal. You're going to be going up against the hit scan, going to have the advantage. Are you going to be able to break that at that juncture? Wei had no problems doing it on their attack the first time, but if Nightmare have learned from their mistakes, there might very well be a little bit more of a respectable hold here. Maybe we even see Nightmare get their first map of the tournament.
Oh, it sounds cruel when you put it that way. I've only played one game, right?
You know, of the entire tournament that they played,
I
the
mean,
one
she's
map where they got
wrong.
rinsed.
She's out of line, but she's right.
It'd still be something, you know. You don't want to go into Hangzhou at the Champions Clash looking weak, like fresh meat on the table. You know, you don't want to go down 3-0 twice.
You don't want to be the wounded gazelle in the pack.
Yeah, there's a bunch of hungry predators waiting for you in China right now, all right? You gotta at least, you know, look like a mighty lion, you know, at least roar at your enemies right now.
Wei trying to rip down Nightmare's cosplay. To begin with here, Zera, oh no, Aid got aggressive and got rewarded for it. Space bought here by Peppy, didn't end up well out of position. A great suck in from the implosion of the Pharah's concussive blast, and this should be a quick reset here from Nightmare. They do not want to play this.
Yeah, no, so far that was not enough time. We've bled off less than a minute. I mean, we're able to stay alive. We can get a recontest here and maybe try and go for it, but you can't throw everything after this recontest because the cart is gonna go, or the finishing box of victory is in that weird little negative space where if it snowballs past the capture point here and you lose that favored spawn, it's just over. Like, you're never gonna get the fight that you need in order to hold.
Cuff on deck, ready to stand on business. Keep this one contested. Aid for now concerning themselves mostly with Zera over there on the Pharah. Top Dragon raining down that damage. This could be a finish here. Nice usage of the quick escape there from Lethal, doing their best. Ultraviolet super low, has to hide away, and that means that a lot of healing is going to be missing now. It wasn't there for Admiral. Peppy runs him down, and Aid, a wonderful play off the back of the rail, grabs the other healer. Damage here is permanent. Cover didn't get them the memo and just has to put themselves on the cart to stop it moving forward. And now we're in the negative space, seems.
Yeah, 120, and you can see, wait, they're pushing past that box of victory because they know Nightmare are going to get split spawns, albeit, or not even split spawns, they're going to all spawn together, but bad spawns very far back. They're going to have to fight, they're going to have to invest, they're going to have to try and find some sort of miracle pick just to even get back to the cart, much less hold it. Under a minute, it's doable if they can get to the cart, but, I mean, they don't got the ults. Wei have everything, and they're going to pop it early.
Top Dragon barrage kill confirmed. And that's going to be so many members of Nightmare slain and unable to touch. The distance is accumulated. Wei walk away 2-0 here. And well, the Predator cosplay from Nightmare, it is beginning to fall apart. We are not making it into the anime convention.
Yeah, it's I mean, a valiant effort. I'll still give them credit, but like I said, you needed to bleed off so much more time on that point A defense. You really needed to leverage that high ground at the end of point A. And they really just didn't. Like, they folded, they crumpled, it was scattered, just trying to hold that at the tail end. They did a good job of trying to die on cart to bleed out those last scant few seconds, but all that did was give them bad spawns. They had to just try and walk up through all of Wei's offense just to even get back to the cart. And without ults, it was never gonna happen. There's like a small world where maybe you live long enough to get that orbital ray online, but you're up against the clock, right? Like, Wei were still able to keep bodies on cart throughout all of that, which is all the more impressive. Like, you know, they can keep the cart moving as fast as humanly possible while also maintaining a forward presence that Nightmare just had no way of breaking through.
Dreams reverse sweep on the horizon. We'll be right back with you to see if it's real after this break.
이제 변수 조심. 야, 손 잡아줄게. 나랑 압박해봐. 이겼어. 그냥 매칭 안 하고. 로이서.
Nightmare. A reverse sweep is necessary to get third place here at the SOOP Cup, invited all the way from America. They're going to be moving on to China soon for Champions Clash in Hangzhou, CB. But right now, North America stocks, they're in the toilet, both in esports and in real life.
Well, the harsh dose of reality for me. I wasn't expecting you to have to cope with the outside world today, but I mean, hey, Nightmare do also have some threats outside of this building, or rather in the building, because again, SSG is literally in the building, watching them, staring daggers as they also scouting, taking some vigorous notes as all of them are going to be prepping to board a plane, head out to Champions Clash in Hangzhou. Nightmare have to set the standard for North America, both going into that tournament and for themselves going into that tournament, because there's a lot of people that would love to just get an easy first round. And if you go down 6-0 here in SOOP Cup, that to me like looks like an easy first round, which is not what you want to be. You know, you're the #1 seed coming out of North America. You got to put up more of a fight. And to their credit, the fight on the past 2 maps has been respectable, but as we go into this third one, I want to see enough of a fight that gets them some map wins. I want to see at least a map win. If not, we get that reverse sweep going. Even a 5-mapper at this stage, I think would be enough to have at least a little bit of confidence in them going into Champions Clash. We're going to see Milgaru coming in for Peppy, as Runasapi is going to be our next go-around. I suspect, you know, we might go for something like a Hazard or a Rush here. Not going to have Peppy coming in, so no Sigma. What's interesting to me is they had Peppy in yesterday to play the Orisa up against Virtus.Pro, and that didn't go too well. I'm wondering if they're going to try that same thing, but with Milgaru. They're a more main tank player. Also, maybe they just want a tank that they can keep on a leash so Peppy stops feeding.
Just take away movement abilities. That's why Sigma's his best character. Nightmare, hungry for a win, but you can get a win for free and easily by making an account here on SoupLive.com, so you can follow SoupLive.com/Ex Oblivione GG and OW_esports_KR to make sure that you are keeping up with all the action here in Overwatch and Korea. And Ex Oblivione GG is available on all platforms to make sure that you're keeping up with all of the restreams that are available from Ex Oblivione.
And I'm sure some of you guys are also going to be watching the restream over on the purple site. And if that's the case, what's it like having a normal sleep schedule? Couldn't be me. Wouldn't know. There's also going to be a VOD going up on YouTube later on, so be sure to catch all the action. Watch it back several times. Point and laugh at Peppy as he continues to feed, or as he's been benched now. And Winston is going to be banned on Runasapi. So, interesting. This isn't typically a dive map, but doubling down on that, we're also getting the Brig ban from Wei, so no dive will be allowed whatsoever. We're going strictly boots on the ground tank here.
All right, down in the nitty-gritty. In the trenches and outside of them, over the top here. NTMR staring down the barrel of a 3-0 loss, which would be... Oh, it wouldn't be good. Would not... It would
not great.
It would not be confidence-inspiring.
As a North America lover, it's
they have another team at Champions Clash, right?
Yeah, Space Station Gaming will also be there, you know.
Okay.
But like, you never want to put all your hope into the number 2 seed, you know, as a region, you know, and you definitely don't want to look like the weakest region. And you got Virtus.Pro putting on a clinic in this tournament, like, has a chance to win the whole damn thing. You can't just let them like walk all over you, because then when you go into the tournament, they'll walk all over you, like.
No more Winston, no more Brig, but this could be the way that Wei want to play. Lee Sumin being able to roam free range on the Kiri. NTMR, they're going to be a lot more concentrated around that Lucio.
It took a lot of restraint not to just say bars when you said the way that Wei want to play. Like, that's... Hold up, his writing is fire.
He runs away with Wei.
Whoa, Lil Wayne wishes he could
is that legal?
Milgaru gonna come out here on the Wrecking Ball. So this is interesting. So I lied when I said pure boots on the ground tank. I should have known better, honestly. Wrecking Ball, very much so something that Milgaru is known for. Something that surely NTMR have scouted. Yeah, you can even tell, like, they're not just letting him roll through for free, but against the Wrecking Ball, there's only so much say you have in the matter.
Little boop onto Kuffer. Anti as well sends Kuffer hiding away into... Oh, nasty areas. Big pile driver coming on through. Of course, that's going to become even more deadly as our perks start to accumulate. And I steal onto the mega health pack as well. Milgar has been an absolute menace back here. A ruffian in the streets. Kuffer dodging the violent leap. Aid with good timing there on that slide. Just doing their best here to try and build up towards that rail. Can use to try and maybe force out Kuffer, and it seems like a headshot was suffered. Not too much gained in terms of objective progress for now. Remember that Wei don't really have the objective presence that they need with such a flimsy composition. Milgar is going to be more about playing around the back line, creating the optimal engage, and then executing on it thereafter. Milgar super low, taken out by the rail at the right time. Healing wasn't there from Lee Soo-min. A NTMR, they just outlast.
Yeah, like, you know, Milgaru doesn't need to secure kills. He just needs to try and keep Ultraviolet tied up so he can't keep Kuffa topped up. That prevents NTMR from taking any space. But as soon as that Wrecking Ball is down, all eyes can focus back on Kuffa, and they can actually try and make something of a play. Taking down Milgaru opens that up wide open, but losing Lethal gonna slow things down. And a huge nade also onto Kuffa means, like, NTMR are just like completely in full retreat mode.
Yeah, every time Kuffa gets sent running, that's a huge opportunity for Wei, because then they don't have to deal with a far more stalwart tank that's going to be staying in their way and really being a nuisance to deal with. Only 7 meters gained so far. Zero with a beautiful stick onto Marco. What a way to try and shut that one down. Admiral actually facilitate that entire engage. A well-timed sound barrier. And it seems like there was a nano as well going out onto aid. Maybe a martyrdom attempt from Marco, or potentially a force of habit. Think we still have a double nano for damage reduction.
Yeah, not quite there yet, though, so you're only going to get it onto Aid. And we do get a fair bit of damage off of that, but, like, Admiral getting that finishing kill onto Lee Soo-min means the backline for Wei is down. Milgaru can slurp up all the health packs he wants, but for Top Dragon and Aid, it's going to be rations.
Down comes the minefield. Fuse stuck within. Kuffa able to easily leap out of that one, and now Lethal could just send shots down range, cleave through these. You got to be careful about Milgar on this angle. He will send you sailing into that minefield, and now this is a little bit of a strange orbital ray, if you have to ask me. Seems like they're going to have a little bit of trouble capitalizing on the end of it, but instead they're just going to go for the raw and unfiltered, the director's cut of the fight over here. Kuffa going to be able to find themselves Aid. Violent Leap should be able to finish this one up. Oh, never mind. Aid is just being particularly annoying and can't be found
there are
here
so many damn health packs on this map. Kuffa is just like, well, how do I kill this guy? Like, He's got all the troops back now. Kuffa can hold this space, and that should be enough for Nightmare to get the checkpoint here. Milgaru coming in with an attempt to stop it, but Kuffa with that downpour.
Yeah, downpour. Crazy there. Going in towards the Kiriko. Kuffa knows that they're only a headshot away from falling on down, so is going to back off for now. A Nightmare, they get themselves their first checkpoint here. This could be the start of a reverse sweep.
You gotta watch out for Aid's overclock though, and Kuffa knows that they have to completely deny any sort of high ground. Can't let Aid have an optimal angle for that. Also needs to try and pressure back Milgaru, who has swapped over onto the hazard. So the Wrecking Ball is not getting the value that Wei wanted it to. They're gonna abandon that ship and try and mirror comp here. Here comes that overclock.
Ultraviolet down low already. Not going to be a huge amount of healing that's available for Kuffa here. Oh, instantly just absolutely blasted away. Aid for next to 4. Welcome to the fight, Sarah. We missed you, bud. Well, Aid didn't miss you.
I was gonna say, yeah, Aid absolutely did not miss whatsoever. I mean, that's gonna be Wei finally getting control of the bot here, but like, have a look at Nightmare, you know? They're gonna have the pulse bomb, not a huge jolt, but they are gonna have the sound barrier, which means they should be able to deal with this nano and or this Kitsune rush. I think Wei might need to double down on support ults if they want to cap this or get more bot progress here, and that is not the ideal scenario.
Nanoed hazard, plenty of damage if you can catch up to someone. If is very much the operative term there. Milgar is forced to simply look at the remainder of their team floating away. This is where the Lucio really does start to pay dividends. Wei, they still have only got 13 meters worth of progress here, even while being able to pick up lethal elsewhere. Zera has themselves a back pocket pulse one to try and lay down if they feel so inclined, but for now, Nightmare is just rolling the bot back.
Small silver lining, Lee Soo-min died before he was able to pop that Kitsune rush, so you don't get the support ult double down. You do have that for the next fight. Zera, like you said, though, still lurking with that pulse bomb. I think the difference maker is going to be either Milgaru's downpour or Lethal's overclock. Whoever gets the better play with that should be able to dictate this next one. But this next fight, both teams should be at least relatively careful until that first salvo. Likely this pulse bomb comes out. If Zera's going to pop it.
Zera doesn't want to try and challenge out the support ultimates for now. Lee Soo-min and Marker both invested their own, but this is going to be a big opportunity for Ultraviolet later on in this fight. Downpour sent out wildly. May well have hit one. Actually pauses lethal. Just watches Marker lackadaisically float by, having the time of their life over there with the moon boots. Doesn't suffer for it too much, but Zera looking to try and turn that one around. Target acquired, moving over onto Lee Soo-min. Super low off the back of the attentions of the other Juno as well, but when the dust clears, Wei seem to have grabbed themselves all the picks, and Marker just doing their best to dance around the barricade, keeps themselves safe.
Ultraviolet, though, gonna have the orbital ray for the next fight here. That should be huge for Nightmare, and I mean, Wei, again, they have to try and do the same thing Nightmare did on their attack. Deny this high ground. Don't let anybody have an advantageous angle, especially once those ults start to pop. Milgaru's already been evicted, so it looks like Wei aren't gonna have as much say over this next fight as is their want. You're looking for Ultraviolet to pop this orbital ray, though. Where and when do we strike? It's gotta be soon, though. We can't give up the checkpoint.
And Kuffa needs to be healed as well. Oh, I hit Repulse from go off. Don't think Top Dragon got too much off the back of that one. Let's see if Zera can be any more successful. Wrapping around the back. Kuffa's falling on down. And now Marcus falling low as well. I'm not sure if they had any idea where Zera was coming from. Hiding away, but completely clueless as to the location of the Tracer. Still, Wei get aggressive, and the aggression pays off. Only 3 members remained in a 4 versus 3. And yet it's the unified vision of Wei that wins out in the end, despite Nightmare's advantage.
Yeah, that's the checkpoint. We're also going to go ahead and give a little bit of space while the butt scratch comes through. Nightmare are going to have the sound barrier, but up against Wei's ult bank, here we go. Kitsune overclock. This is really scary, and the wall to block off Kuffa, and the downpour.
Oh, 150 charge as well on these rails. Lethal doesn't get one tapped by a headshot right there. Is going to be able to get it. Where Zera fell off the map. Yeah, Zera fell off the map. Didn't die to her impulse. Storm still has it in the back pocket.
Well, but that's also going to be Wei taking the lead. It definitely would have been nice to have a Tracer to maybe, I don't know, go in for a contest or something, try and stop that from coming through. I mean, he's going to be back into the fight now, and Wei don't have any ults here, but I mean, now they're just like squared up. They're saying, all right, you have to move in order to come into us. Like, Lethal comes forward, Aid takes him down. That's traded up from Maka. That should be enough to get Wei out of here, but they're going to stick around and make it hurt for Nightmare.
No, Wei have had a weird habit of just making these fights work without Marker, actually forcing out a sound barrier here in a 4 versus 5. Not the worst thing that's ever happened. Nice steal on the health back. Zera actually running rings around Aid right now, and that's just a well-placed rail to try and shut this one down, but not in Aid's wheelhouse at the moment. Nightmare back in control.
But that's still not a great scenario because, like, you're just using the sound barrier to even get the bot back to the barricade. Like, you wanted to save that ultimate for the actual fight where you're trying to get some bot progress here. Sure, you have more ults, yeah, but so do Wei. They're coming up on the orbital ray. They're going to beat Ultraviolet to that punch, and that is something that I sure would love a fair bit of overhealth to deal with if I'm Nightmare.
Would be ideal. Downpour available right now for Kaffa. Aggressive plays from Top Dragon has to force the recalls. Zera still got their own, so it can be a bit more aggressive here. That might be a critical advantage. Zera can get in towards the back onto Mark and maybe try and shut down that orbital ray before it starts. But for now, Wave, they don't have to get aggressive. They're in a position where they can simply hold here forever and win the game because they've already grabbed themselves a lead due to the lack of contest. Oh, Zera found in the little room, the tourism office. It's covered in blood. That's going to be a professional cleaning. A trades it out the other way, and out comes a well-timed use of the orbital ray to keep everyone healed on up. Milgaru stuffs everyone into these locations. Lethal thinks that it's his game to win, and with a damage boost that's coming out of this orbital ray, it could well be true. However, no more charge coming free from the overclock. Nice dodge away from the downpour. It's a shot in the dark from Ilgaru. Sends out a quick hello and a salute as a reward. And I believe that Nightmare have been able to grab a forward spawn as Top Dragon's just going to inch that bot back now.
What a interesting ult from Milgaru. I mean, Wei are still going to have the Kitsune and the overclocks. They should be able to win out this next fight. But now Admiral has had the opportunity to build back up to that sound barrier. So if Nightmare get a pick, or if they get a good fight with this sound barrier, they do still have a chance to take the lead. I'm looking at Zera to try and find an early pulse bomb, either onto Lee Soo-min or onto Maka. You do have to worry about that Suzu as well, and you only have 15 seconds, and yeah, it's Aid.
Oh, that's a lot of damage over on to Ultraviolet. Doesn't get the sound barrier either. Could be critically vulnerable here as Admiral lays it down. Where's the damage onto Wait? It finally gets delivered by Lethal and back onto a point now. Nightmare about to make it all the way back. Remember now, these respawns going to take even longer to come through. Ultraviolet and Lethal and Admiral are going to be waiting for those ones. Lee Soo-min simply joins Marker up on the high ground. It's a nice veranda. A siesta's available as Wei are going to walk away from this 3-0 surely. Nightmare exit Soup Cup without a map in their pocket.
There was a chance. I mean, you can say that on all three maps that there was a chance, but that last fight was just so awkward. I mean, Aid doesn't actually get the kill with that flank OC, but gets so much value because all of the attention gets turned back towards him. A ton of damage comes out onto Lethal, who's in the front line just trying to keep the bot in contention, keep things going for Nightmare, but he can't afford to join to try and dispatch Aid, and it takes so long to get rid of that Sojourn that, like, Wei just get everything they want essentially for free. They don't even really need to take the fight. The fight doesn't ever even really happen in the way that Nightmare needed to, and so Wei just play the clock there.
Player of the match here. Going to be going the way of Aid. Yeah, not too bad. Like you said, like, even though there were no frags found off that flank, like forcing a weird position for that fight when there were when the bot had to be continuously contested during overtime and you still weren't in a position of being in the lead. Remember, sending 3 people after him, only getting 4 players with the sound barrier, not usually a critical sin, but when the player you miss is your like 50 HP Juno, not ideal.
Yeah, and by the time the fight comes back over, like Ultraviolet's 1 HP just gets taken out with stray shots by Maka. Aid, like throughout this, like I said, like even though there weren't frags on that game-winning play there were a ton of frags throughout this series from Aid. The hit scan play from Aid has been absolutely phenomenal. Dude has been pounding all tournament long. This series was no different. Even when he's not getting the high value kills, he's still getting the value. Look at these shots like onto Lethal. Admiral just trying to square up for no apparent reason. Thank you for coming. And then a nice one for Ultraviolet as well. Homie had like a magnet on the backline's heads at all times.
Well, Circuit Royale was at least quite exciting to watch. I'm interested to see if we get a little bit more Pharah out of Zera. Seemed to be exchanging with Top Dragon fairly effectively throughout most of this series. Aid, however, easy on those shutdowns, and wow, the accuracy was here today for Aid. I often, because they didn't have that, long and storied high-tier performance in either, a Contenders run or Overwatch League, I forget how much skill Aid really has, because there's not as much prestige on his name. I believe their Contenders run was with Sinprissa Gaming, who never really got that deep into either the Overwatch League runs when we had that kind of integration in Asia between the Overwatch League teams and the Contenders teams. And before that, not quite so much elsewhere. It's going to be a interview here with Aid, but we don't have a translator, so it's probably just back to us for now.
Oh, okay. Well, you said something you said at the top of the show that I thought was interesting is you talked about Proud and how everyone's talking about Proud and like he's the guy, he's the hit scan guy in Korea right now. And for a lot of people that might be true, but Aid is making a strong case, and even though it's going to be T1 making the deeper tournament run, Aid is still making a strong case, and at times even showing up Proud in terms of performance.
Yeah, Aid certainly has been showing up, but someone else needs to show up on your screens right now is Rock, so let's go on back to the desk. Have a quick yap about that game, and we'll get sorted and situated for our finals coming up. T1 versus Virtus.Pro is definitely one of my matches to watch.
Yeah, Zero once again really trying his hardest to make things happen, but once again, like you said, it wasn't enough. Honestly, I thought Nightmare had more of a chance that time around, but hey, I guess I was wrong. But at least it was a fun series to watch, like you said, especially on Circuit Royale.
I definitely say Nightmare had a chance. Like again, all of those maps did appear close. Like at no point did they just roll over and die, but the scoreline is going to make it look very much so like they did.
What, was it close yesterday? When,
no,
when they got 3-0'd?
Absolutely not.
This was a close 3-0 rather than a 3-0-3-0.
Yeah, it's like when you're at a fighting game tournament and you have to like tell the tournament organizer your score, and you go, yeah, it was a 3-0, but it was close, I swear. Like I didn't lose by like 2 stocks or 3 stocks or whatever else. But
I don't think you have to tell the tournament organizers. I don't think you have to like cop to that. I think that like I just need the numbers, bud. Like I don't need to know that. Yeah, like, I'm sure you did fine. Whatever, 3-0. Yeah, whatever.
Sure, Jan.
Sure,
but,
yeah. Like,
yeah, I'll take your word for it. Anyways, yeah, go to the losers bracket or get out of my tournament. We got grand finals coming up, of course, but we're gonna let you two have a quick break. Of course, after casting that series, like you said, even though it was a 3-0, pretty intense. Sure, you guys need to rest your voices, and we're gonna bring on our very unspecial guest, but for now we say goodbye to you two, and you will be returning in the future, obviously. So go get some Red Bull if you can, wake up a little bit more, especially you, CB. We know it's 5:30 in the morning over here for us new Westerners, but let's swap on over to
hello,
here.
it's just us.
Just you guys, yeah. And I will drag Matilda! How you doing? You're here, you're live.
Hey, hello!
How are you today? Okay, now we're back. We're back for real this time. How are you doing today? Good morning. My twinsy. You've changed your background on me. And it's kind of like
I did, I'm sorry.
Pissing me off. Yeah, it makes me very upset because now we can't actually just be twins. For those of you who don't know, me and Matilda are related despite not being born in the same year, or in the same country, or having the same parents. Yeah. So,
but it's kind of like a stars alignment kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's if you don't think about it too hard, we're twins.
Exactly.
But of course, you're also a co-owner of Ex Oblivione, as am I. So I got a couple questions here prepared for you if you are ready to answer.
I'm so ready.
Ooh, you got the AirPods in too, man. You've gotten an upgrade. Man, EXO, what is EXO paying you? I need that. I don't know what bands they're paying you, but I need whatever that is.
Yeah.
So the first question I got for you here is, how did you get the job into Overwatch? I mean, we're on SOOP, we're on a new platform or newer platform. I'm sure not a lot of people know the story.
No, well, I've been working as a voice actor for like my entire life since I was 6 years old. I'm a Nepo baby, so. Yeah, in 2018 or 2017, it must have been, I just got a call to do a voice test, and it would be in English, and it was at a studio I'd been before, and he was like, do you know how to speak English? And I was like, yeah, it's only all I've ever wanted to do, ever. at a job. I've always been. I mean, I'm Swedish. If you didn't know, I'm actually Swedish. So maybe I should be talking like this, but I don't because I've always wanted to do something in English. So he was like, "Can you speak English?" And I said, "Yes, I can." And I headed over there, and it was a really short voice test. It was just like short lines. Like, I think one of the lines was "for honor and glory," and I was like, I didn't recognize it at all. For some reason I didn't recognize it, and I was like, "Oh, what is this game? It's something cool." But I thought it was a game. And then I came back for another voice test, and it was very long. It was like monologuing. But then I heard that it was for Blizzard, and I was freaking out because the only two Blizzard games I've ever played are Hearthstone and Overwatch. And I was like, I mean, obviously it's not any of those, but maybe this is like a cool NPC in WoW or something. And then I did a third voice test, and I read through the lines, and one of them said, like, defend the objective and get on the payload. And I was like, that's Overwatch. So yeah, that's Overwatch. And so I was freaking out, and I was like, I have to get this. I am the person for this job. And I really, really felt like that. And then after that, I got it. I was like locked in, and I got the part, and it's the coolest thing that's ever happened to me. And that was in 2018. And then, hello, co-owner of EXO.
Yeah.
My life just keeps getting better.
Yeah, you're on the upgrade here, but you know, you said you knew Overwatch before you got into the game, obviously so. And in Overwatch, who do you play the most? Who do you have the most fun with?
I usually play, if I go DPS, I go Junkrat. And if I go support, I go Moira.
Yeah, you being a Junkrat player makes a lot of sense.
Why?
No, I'm not elaborating on that.
Thing?
No, never.
Is it like throwing balls or?
No, what? No, you're taking that in a whole different direction. I'm just saying it makes sense.
Okay. I don't know what that means. Oh, but I do like throwing balls because I like Junkrat and I like Moira.
There you go. Maybe there's a correlation there. Maybe you should be a shot putter in
Maybe
real life.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Yeah.
The next question is how did you get involved in Overwatch esports? I mean, I obviously applied to become a content creator for Ex Oblivione, and then I said, hey, I'm actually gonna buy a house and like disappear from YouTube for a year. So how did you get involved?
I didn't have the same route as you had. But no, I got contacted. How do I say it? I know Ocarin, one of the co-owners, and we've known each other for a few years. And then he and Kev, another one of the co-owners, came to me and they were like, hey, do you want to join our team? And I was like, what? I was like, this guy? I don't know about that. But it worked out pretty good. And here I am now, and we're having a lot of fun, and you've joined the team, which is definitely an upgrade. And they have someone that can actually help them on things. But I do have my part. I do have my things to say. I'm more of a moderator, I'd say.
Yeah, you're the mediator. Whenever me and Kev are fighting in the group chat, where it's the director group chat, where I'm about to tear him in half because he stole all of my units in TFT, you come in and say, no, you can't do that. Kevin supplies us with everything. He's the father of the org. We can't kill Kevin. That's a bad idea.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's I like that part. I like being that person.
Yeah, obviously we all know Kevin is like silver or something in TFT, but let's move on from that. Outside of Overwatch, you're a big music girly, and I know that just from speaking to you personally. What is your favorite kind of music to like sing and listen to? Because I know you're a singer, and like, do you have any projects outside of voice acting that involve singing?
I do some things. I have some projects, but nothing that's... I mean, you can find me on Spotify if you want. But I'm currently ish working on things, but it's not something that you'll see in the near future, I think.
You have any?
But if you want to hear me sing, you can
or
just
anything.
Any what?
Favorite things you're working on currently, or anything you can leak to us, or is it all private
No.
information?
I'm literally just making music with a friend, so it's not anything to leak. No one gives a shit.
Give me the audio file right now.
Play it on stream.
Yeah.
Oh god. No, it'll come. When the time is right, it'll come. But if you want to hear me sing, you can go to my Twitch. I do sing there a lot. I stream and I sing a lot. I sing literally all the time. I mean, you're gonna find out when you come to visit. I can't ever be quiet. It's just impossible for me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so make sure you go visit Matilda's Twitch. At msmedius, I believe, if my brain serves me correctly. If there was an EXO staff team, like, you know, we entered Faceit League or something like that, something crazy, something silly like that. What role would you be on? Do you have a role you'd like to stick to, or do you think you'd be like more of a manager or coach?
Never manager, coach, because I don't. I mean, just watching this tournament, the SOOP Cup, too much is happening. I can't follow. I'm trying to. I know how to play the game, I think, and then I watch these people playing on a higher level, and I don't understand what's going on at all. So I definitely wouldn't do that unless I can like cheer people on. I think I'd be very good at that. But if I was playing, I think I'd go tank. I'm horrible at support. I'm a DPS Moira. Everyone hates me, and that's fine. I'm used to that. But I think if I had to go anything, I'd go tank, because I have a friend that's really good at Overwatch. Shout out to Kimchi, and she says that I'm the best when I play tank. So if you want to utilize me, maybe that's the best place to put me.
We'll put you on the tank role. We'll get you on Reinhardt. It's like similar enough to Brig to where I don't know if there are any ball throwing tanks. You could play Wrecking Ball. I mean, he's
I'm Junker Queen. If I play tank, I go Junker Queen.
You go Junker Queen. She throws a knife.
Yeah,
that's close enough to a ball if you don't think about it too hard.
That's what I was gonna say earlier, literally.
Yeah.
We have the same minds.
What
would you play? What role would you have?
I'd be a tank player. I'm a big monkey guy, as people from YouTube know. Yeah, I'm actually secretly the voice actor for Winston. Like I've always said, there's a Winston day for every day of the week. You know, you got Monkey Monday, Tesla Cannon Tuesday, Winston Wednesday, Thunderous Thursday, because, you know, he shoots lightning. You know, that's kind of related to electricity. Fury Friday, because he gets angry and in primal rage and he's just unleashing the fury onto you. And then of course we go to the Winston weekend, which it's the weekend right now. We should be seeing more Winston. I don't understand why we're not, but maybe we'll see that in this upcoming match with T1 versus Virtus.Pro. Finally, because we've only got a couple minutes left, I got some SOOP trivia for you, because of course we are on SOOPlive.com/Ex Oblivione GG. Make sure you make an account and follow us here, as well as OW_esports_KR, and follow them there for all of the best Korean Overwatch happening. We got some SOOP trivia, and I picked this one out specifically because I think it's funny. With chicken stock as a base and leeks as the main ingredient, Kakaliki soup has become a signature dish of a country. Where can you find Kakaliki soup? Readily on the menu. And it's a European country. I will give you that hint.
It's a European country.
Yeah, just like I beat you in GeoGuessr, I will beat you in SOOP trivia
embarrassing. The fact that I got beat at GeoGuessr by an American is just... My European siblings are crying at that fact. Leek?
Yep.
And what?
It's leek. Leek, we got let me read up here. We got leek, and it is often thickened with rice or barley. Sometimes contains prunes. Prunes are good for you. but you may find them as a garnish nowadays, more as it actually being in the soup. But the tradition of cooking with them with the soup has faded.
And this is a European country that
Yes.
has kakaliki soup.
Yep, European country. You're on a quick timer here because we are about to go back into game.
Yeah. I'm gonna say Slovenia.
I'll go Croatia. Sorry, just
No, you're good. All right, CB, you got a guess?
Well, I know it's not Sweden, otherwise Matilda would have already guessed it. So that's like all of the European countries I know. We've exhausted the entire list. Kakaliki soup. That almost sounds like Polynesian to me. Like that sounds like it should be from like the Isle of Samoa or something. And that's not in Europe last I checked, unless they moved it.
No,
No,
unfortunately.
I think I'll give you guys another hint. Leg day. You are if I know correctly, you live very close to this country. Because we got walkouts coming on. So I'll give you guys one last second guess.
Is it Wales?
It is not Wales.
Scotland.
Scotland is the correct answer. Kakaliki soup, the signature dish of Scotland. Congratulations, CV. You have won our soup trivia here at souplive.com. And Matilda, thank you for coming on. It's always a pleasure. As you know, I will see you very soon. Anything you want to say before we go?
You're doing so well. Make an account here on Soup. And thank you, everyone, for coming here and hanging out with us and watching the official stream of the Soup Cup. And good job to everyone doing this. You're all amazing. Special shout out to Rox.
All right, I'll see you, Snart.
Snart.
All right,
Can you
we're
imagine
back.
Connor, the voice actor for Hazard, saying Kakaliki soup?
I think I'm gonna
can.
DM him. I think I'm gonna DM him and ask.
I need that.
I'm logging on the EXO Twitter right now because I have this power, and I will be asking, and then maybe I'll get something. But we got the walkouts happening, so I'm gonna throw it back to you guys. Turn off the Spotify, turn on the stream audio, and go ham. Grand finals coming up right now.
All right, Virtus.Pro coming up on your screen. Just been a run for Virtus.Pro's, CB. Across multiple esports, Virtus.Pro are kind of dominating right now. And we're looking to keep it happening over in Hangzhou at the Champions Clash. But first, we've got our grand finals here of the SOOP Overwatch Cup.
Yeah, as I, in our intermission, earned the title of Soupiest Girl, the title for Soupiest Team is now up for grabs. And for my money, this tournament feels like it was made as an excuse to get T1 back at the forefront of Korean Overwatch, where they should be. You know, they set up all these opportunities for them to prove themselves. Winning the whole damn thing, I think, like I said earlier, it would be a great way for them to actually turn around their misfortunes. Come back around and be like, okay, we finished 6th in OWCS Korea. We know we can do better than that. We should do better than that. This is how we make that statement going into the next tournament. But speaking of statements, like you said, across seemingly every esport, seemingly every tournament, and OWCS EMEA, absolutely no different, Virtus.Pro has been making an entire novel of statements.
Yeah, just an absolute manifesto has been pushed out by Virtus.Pro over in EMEA. And of course, they earned their spot in China as well. Vestel has been lights out for years upon years now, honestly. Despite maybe not the ideal first showing in Overwatch League, way back yonder, Vestel have very much earned their spot in later years as one of our top Pantheon tank players, especially, I believe, in the Overwatch World Cup, where they did manage to play, if I remember correctly, for Finland. We've got ourselves a quick interview here. I imagine that's Smash, who's Virtus.Pro's coach on the right-hand side.
Yeah, and, you know, you can talk all you want about, like, the Korean coach differential, but it is also the talent of this roster. Like, personally, I think I gotta put Vestola in conversation for... He's definitely the best, if not one of the best tanks in all of EMEA, but I would at this point extend that to him potentially being in the conversation for best tank in all of Overwatch. Or not the best tank, but one of the best tanks in all of Overwatch. I don't want to put him at the top just yet. I think people who are afraid to put him in that conversation, though, probably are worried a little bit about limitations like the Winston or some of the other dive tanks aside from the Diva that he's known for. And I think this is a good opportunity for him to try and plug some of those gaps, or show that in a hero ban meta at least, we can work around those and still be as dominant as he has, even in just this tournament.
Coming up thus far, and of course you can make sure that those gaps are a little bit more pluggable, as it were, with the new meta of hero bans that we have not only in competitive Overwatch, but soon, I believe, coming to the Overwatch primary game in comp, which is certainly going to change up the gameplay experience for a lot of players, as well as maybe allow them to manufacture great practice scenarios for some of their weaker heroes as well, by trying to craft the game in their favor.
For me, I'm just going to be banning against my teammates, I promise you. Like, I'm just going to sit, I'm going to be checking everyone's hero profile. I'm going to see, all right, I got a Life Weaver OTP on my team. I'm banning that. I'm not dealing with the Weaver today. I can't. I got a Rhino OTP for a tank. No, I'm sorry. Get on Mauga right now. You're fired up like a volcano. I don't want to hear it.
If I see no shield Ryan on my team, Brad's getting banned, bro. I hate to break it to you.
Yeah, comp future in the actual Overwatch scene, the pro play, you use hero bans to try and manufacture situations that are to your advantage. You try and shut down the enemy. When that goes to ranked, I am shutting down any OTPs on my team that are playing any of this silly nonsense that I don't want. Like, no, put your get on the meta.
Pepe's Ramatra.
It's no longer going to be please go goats, it's my master's game. It's going to be no, go the meta. You don't get a choice.
Oh, reinforcing. That would be unfortunate. I imagine in some metas there's just going to be a lot of Mauga banning coming on through. Of course, we don't have a translation right now for our WDG interview of Rush and Smash, so we're mostly guess working our way through this. I imagine that both of them are being moderately respectful of the other team, predicting a 3-1 in their favor. Are we best of 5 or best of 7 for this?
I believe it's best of 7 for the grand finals. We have we got a long one on our hands. 4-0.
They'll both be predicting a 4-1 in their favor, I imagine, from what I've learned of coach interviews.
Just giving that charity map over to the other team. Like, you don't want to be too confident, you don't want to be too brash, but you know, just gotta give that one over. I think 4-1 for either side would be, you know, exactly what you want, though. Like, that would be enough to make a statement that you are the better team, that you are winning this tournament. I think a 4-1 victory for Virtus.Pro going into the Champions Clash would put the entirety of that tournament on notice.
Yeah, meanwhile, for T1, a 4-1 victory would get them out of the Korean doghouse, as it were. Like, they are... they're currently... I mean, not making it to Asia was a big blow to... Like, T1's a prestige org, right? Like, this is an org that expects excellence. Their pedigree is near unmatched in esports as a whole, and coming 6th in a local competition or 5th in a local competition is kind of unacceptable for this team. And they made changes thereafterwards. They got rid of Opener, they brought in Vigilante. They're trying to address their weaknesses, but it all starts with how it happens in the game. Map set coming up on your screen. Yep, that's going to be a best of 7, and we're starting off with Lijiang Tower.
And the bans, I think, are going to be another interesting thing, because you talk about addressing their weaknesses, but for my money, it also kind of feels like they may have created another one with this Vigilante skewed backline. How good is Skewed's Lucio? Like, it was good enough to get them this far. Is it good enough to get them a tournament win against EMEA? And is it going to be good enough to keep this team competitive going forward? Because remember, this is, you listed off the prestige of this org. It's also a partnered org. We're expecting them to be constantly in competition with your Zeta divisions, your Crazy Raccoons, your Team Falcons. But in the last stage of OWCS Korea, they just weren't up to snuff, and they need to address that. And was Vigilante the grease on the squeaky wheel that they needed? Only time will tell. This is going to be a good early indicator of that, but maybe you can try and ban around that, force some double flex kind of situations, or force more Brigitte situations, because we know Skewed is cracked out of his mind on the Brig. It's just the Lucio that's always going to be a question mark until Skewed proves that it isn't.
The Avril Proud propaganda has been whispered in my ear in weeks prior. I'm yet to see him do the Jesus-esque feats that have been described to me. I'm ready to see hit scam Jesus. I'm ready to believe Siebes. But currently, I'm a proud atheist. Wait, that sounds a lot different than I thought it was going to sound. My sentence planning there didn't go quite as I thought it was going to.
Okay, all right. Well, like, I wasn't ready to bring religion into this. I don't think we really have to discuss our religious
mean by that. Why were those curtains blue, like they?
I have seen flashes of his I don't want to say Christ-like abilities, but I will say I have seen flashes of Proud's prominence, and I expect going forward we will continue to see that. I think that's something that T1 are going to have to leverage pretty heavily, because on the other side, Shockwave is no slouch, and the match prediction here, that's interesting to me. 60-40 is a lot more confidence for a Western team than we're used to. All right, even in the match that Virtus.Pro won 3-0 previously, they only had like less than 20% confidence from the predictions. So this is kind of crazy. People are starting to believe.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't kept track of the stat line since Envy's initial win back in Apex, maybe season 2? Was it season 2 or season 1 where Envy won? They were the first team to come from the West to Korea and win a localized tournament. I don't know if anyone's managed to do the same in the time since. Maybe Gauntlet? No, I'm fairly sure EM won that. Yeah, Element Mystic won Gauntlet when we invited a bunch of contenders teams back in 2019. We haven't really had many events that aren't from Korean-dominated teams, even if they were representing like an NA org, happen alongside Overwatch League.
If there's another one, I don't know it. Like, again, I also thought Envious was the last to ever do it. And again, aside from that one time where Envious came through and won OGN Apex, every other Western team that's gotten invited to a Korean tournament has just gotten completely dog-walked. But Virtus.Pro have been the ones holding the leash thus far. We'll see if that trend continues as they go up against not even just like a partnered org in Korea, not even just some of the best that Korea has to offer, but a partnered org with something to prove, with a chip on their shoulder, as it were, and looking to make their name at Virtus.Pro's expense.
They're hoping to do it. they're like, honestly, team might be on notice, given the excellence that T1 are bound to expect as a tier 1 org. They are going to go for the initial ban here of the Torbjorn. Of course, used to be a bit of a troll ban. There is still that Torbjorn Symmetra composition lurking in the background to try and shut down something like Hazard. And Virtus.Pro on the other side are going to remove the Ana from contention.
This is interesting. So the Torb ban, like, typically you ban the Torb because you want to try and play the Hazard. Banning out the Ana, I mean, Ana is kind of a, both a soft, meaty target, but also kind of a soft counter to the Hazard. So I'm curious if that's what T1 want to try and come out with. And if Virtus.Pro are just looking to not enable that with Nano Boost, or if they have something else up their sleeve. I think for a lot of people, all eyes are going to be on Vestola, because he has been the man for Virtus.Pro. Again, I tout him as one of the best tank players in all of Overwatch right now. And if you're not ready for that conversation, then we'll see what he's got in this matchup here. Does he match the Hazard? Because I think Virtus.Pro are going to probably want to go for like a Ramatra right out the gates. Like, that's what I've seen from them typically. No, okay, all right. On Night Market, a D.Va to open things up. That's it. That is also interesting.
Commonly seen as an attempt to shut down a Winston, and Donghack, of course, is noted for their Winston play thus far. I'm ready to become a proud believer. If T1 are ready to present such, Zest, of course, noted for their habits with Pulse Bomb, of sticking other tracers. Shockwave's going to be on the other side trying to shut that one down with the flashbang on the Cassidy. An early position on the point here going to be given over by Jwoo, moving on to that Symmetra. And this is, of course, also going to be a lot of threat levied towards Vestola with that beam.
Yeah, it's also kind of like
forgetting who's on what team.
Yeah, I mean, Vestola is not going to be under any threat from Jwoo. I think that beam won't do a whole lot of damage to the D.Va mech. It will do a lot of damage to the Winston bubble, though, and it's already nearly broken.
Bro just jumped into the disruptor shop. It's not ideal, I'm not gonna lie to you. Fixer grabs himself a boop onto Skewed. Alpha Lucio on deck here, as both of these supports are gonna be held at some real danger from the Winston. Still, Donghag leaps on in, booped off for side. Oh, it's another one for Fixer, who's having himself an absolutely wild first fight here. Leading ult charge in the lobby, by the way, on the Lucio.
Somehow Fixa and Vestola just simply kill everyone. It was some clutch boops from Fixa, but oh my god, like 64% on the sound barrier already. That is a monumental advantage. The downside is Vestola did lose the mech and did have to jump off the ledge in order to try and get back in. So now T1 can just essentially take space on the point for free as Vestola comes back in. Virtus.Pro have to make a move in order to hold the point.
Oh, in comes the boom, trying to get rid of Vestola. Skewed already caught out here by Shockwave at the worst possible moment. And Shockwave now just going to be fanning the hammer onto that Winston. Makes it look easy going into that big meaty target. Plenty of accuracy. They're taking their time with the carry, but they can chew their food because they're in control. Virtus.Pro, 35.
And they look pretty good so far. I mentioned they had to make a move. Shockwave with one quick headshot onto Skewed. That was the move. Skewed is not having a great time, by the way. Hasn't had a whole lot of say in either of these fights. I raised a question about his Lucio, and so far the answer hasn't inspired too much faith.
Faith certainly not there thus far. Gala playing in these safe positions, and already an engagement coming through from Vigilante. Wow, nice TP away coming through. Shockwave around the back, going to be able to use that Deadeye with the added cushion of the sound barrier if they want. Instead, everyone just blasting each other on the paths of the Kitsune. It's a fairly clean wipe here for Virtus.Pro, save Fixer, who may have sound barriered off the map.
No, the sound barrier was successful. Fixer was just like, I did my job. My planet needs me. All right, just jumped off the map. He'll be back in time. Don't you worry about it. The problem, though, is T1 are now going to have Donghack's Primal Rage, and Skewed has finally built up to a sound barrier of his own. But for Virtus.Pro, like, all you have to do is win this one fight, and you still got 2 DPS ults and a self-destruct to make it happen. If you can shoot through this overhealth, you are done, and you're good. And you killed Proud already. Hello?
Oh, Shockwave down, though, in the middle of the Deadeye. Proud exchanged on the other side. Both those primary DPS are down. Vestola doing their best to chase down the Lucio. But with this photon barrier here, things are getting complicated. A well-placed pulse one brings Jay-Woo low, and Donghack's there to finish it. Coming towards the edge is a dangerous proposition against the Primal Raging Winston, and Vestola feels the danger arrive. It's going to be encapsulated within that bubble. Of course, that means it's not going to be too much danger towards anyone else, but the real danger's on the point right now. T1 needs to stay on top of it, or it will start to go on down. Proud finds himself the ideal shot with the railgun, taking out that Lucio. Shockwave next up on the docket. Another tap has to be put onto the point as Virtus.Pro are still in control, and T1 are desperately scrambling to try and get some manner of control here, surrounded on all sides. Jay-Woo's come in with a couple of well-placed Symmetra turrets, but in the end, that's going to be the last note in that song, and T1 finally get control.
They had to nearly drain the coffers entirely, and at no point did it ever feel like T1 were in control until the very bitter end. Now you're going to have mirrored Kitsunes on either side. Vigilante has to try and go super proactive with this. Try and build up to something. Maybe you get an early kill for Proud. If Gala gets a good angle and pulls the trigger first, it might just be Virtus.Pro going for the retake here.
All right, already a bunch of space gained here. Kitsune rushes exchange, Shockwave going low, but a triage from the healers. It was good for a while, and then Proud managed to find exactly the rail shot that was demanded. A headshot to the skull, but where else would it go? Jay was got a fully charged beam. Always dangerous, and both the damage dealers have found that out the hard way. A pocket here could be everything. Quick TP away. Jaywood just keeps himself safe in the midst of all of this. Could be booped on off. Certainly seems to be on the cards right now. Nicely timed. Suzu stops the incoming damage. Skewed, he can't grip on. Fixer gets another one. 3 environmental kills over the course. It's like we're back on Lige Gone Tower, CB. Oh, the legends of old. I yearn for them. And Zest yearns to shuffle off this mortal coil, beat to death by a mech of all things. And Virtus.Pro have a celebratory sound barrier as T1 are wiped.
Fixa is not the member of this roster that most people talk about when they talk about how strong Virtus.Pro is, but absolutely gapping Skewed in that matchup there. That last boop onto Skewed, 92% to the sound barrier. That sound barrier, T1 needed it so badly. That was going to be their entire lifeline. Fixa cares not for your lifeline. Just boop after boop. And onto, like, Donghack, too. Like, these are high value kills coming out from your backliner, and it's just not something that I think T1 are equipped to be able to match. Like, Fixa being able to do that can continue to be an entire difference maker throughout this map. I suspect when we go further on after this, you're going to be looking for like a Lucio ban, try and play more into the Brigitte. Both Fixa and Skewed gonna opt for that now, but Fixa is just as good on the Brig, if not better, than he is on the Lucio. So is this even a winning gambit?
Well, it's at least maybe a better matchup here for Skewed. Famous break from a time on LA Gladiators in the before times. Zest playing around here, just trying to keep Jaywu on notice. Shockwave's already taken a bunch of damage, but it seems like Virtus.Pro have managed to break over past the bridge. And Jaywu now has to use the deflect, needs a cookie as well, maybe waiting for those to be reset. And all that brawl happening in the dojo over here. Vestola's going to be the main victim of that, and while it will be a misplaced disruptor shot right there, Proud's going to be hitting their shots exactly where they need to thereafter. Donghack just overwhelming Virtus.Pro with the Orisa.
Yeah, just walking right on forward, trapping Orisa in that little dojo there. And I mean, Jwoo was trying to get the point, so Virtus.Pro do get 14% there, but what you didn't have all your soldiers trying to keep Vestola alive, everyone on T1 was trying to take Vestola down, and take him down they do. They're going to be able to get the point here. They had a much more important battle in mind, and they won it. And now Zest has the angle that he wants, can safely play around the point, avoid damage from Shockwave, and hell, we can just kill Shockwave altogether. That works too.
Fixer realizes the only way out is across, but Proud manages to find them on the other side as well. Virtus.Pro now clocked on their way through here. This is such a difficult map to attack when you're going up against the poke coming through from a Pharah.
Everywhere you go, you're just going to be taking that spam damage from the rockets. And look at the ult bank for T1, by the way. Like, Virtus.Pro have done a fair bit to get those support ults online, but you're going up against nearly everything for T1. If T1 cycle this out, there is no shot they don't get this to 99. All it's really going to take is 2 good fights. Rally, Terra Surge, you can really slow the pace down. They're going to open up with Overclock, and Virtus.Pro going to put their foot on the brakes.
Oh, big investments. Gala just deleted from existence. Desperately trying to get away from the Terra Surge right now. Fix has been booped off the map in the midst of all this by Zest. And more Vestola may well have been able to break the blockade. Maybe they can make something happen in the back. A popping of the rally to give everyone the overhealth and the healing. The staying power that's needed to keep this one contested. 69% thus far for T1. It's been a nice performance, but Shockwave's got some nice plans of his own off for Deadeye. Don't think he's got the DPS to try and deal with this one, though. Gala returns to a fight just in time, simply to die again. And Fix is dragged on in by the Terror Surge. For Shield does nothing against the Earthquake as it rattles the bones. And Jwoo's just going to be charged out of this one. And a charged up Javelin keeps Vestola at bay.
Virtus.Pro used every single tool they had to try and force that fight for T1. T1 do use everything as well, but if you're Virtus.Pro, you need something to kick the door open. Is there even going to be a touch? You don't have a Lucio right now. Jwoo has to use that dash just to get onto the point, get it in contention. But is there going to be a follow-up there? He is all alone, no help, has to just dip and dodge through the window, and now has to try and deal with Zest.
Combined fires onto Shockwave, too much to manage. Vestola's just going to do their best to back on up health to this. Virtus.Pro got a cheeky cap in the midst of all this. They hyper-committed on the side of T1 towards that backline. Jwoo's the reward for all this, though. Vestola low on HP. Zest exactly the same. But in the end, it feels like T1 have got everything they need. They're just taking this lazily, lackadaisically, waiting to capo onto that point. Fixer caught in a corner. They're between a rock and an Orisa place. And Jwoo is going to get that last second touch, yes. But the remainder of Virtus.Pro are still far away. The Bears are trying to break their way out through the cage. But all they can do is dance on the hot plate that Donghack's prepared. Virtus.Pro equaled up upon.
And that looks pretty decisive from T1. They taking very smart fights, never over-investing, never overextending themselves, forcing Virtus.Pro to try and make plays, try and force their own errors. Like I said, you have that one big fight where, you know, it felt like Virtus.Pro were really confident. They got the kills they needed off of the ults, and that forced more investment out of T1, which is all well and good, but only if you win the fight and still have something to go for the next fight. T1 always kept something in the bank and were able to parlay that over onto the next point. Now it's all going to come down to Control Center, and I fully expect that we're not going to be deviating too much from the course here. We're probably going to ditch the Pharahs, leave those at the door, but a Genji on either side, save for that, we're getting the same comp we saw on Gardens, and as good as Vestola is on this Orisa, Donghack has looked just as competitive.
Matching the Javelin charges right now. Lots of damage done by Zest already. Oh, the dashes are starting to accumulate, and the damage might be too much to bear. Fixer, Gala, both down. Damage done is permanent. Vestola, all they can do is flee for their life. Oh, they tried to keep Zest at bay, but man just turned that Javelin around. Olympic-level incident.
The streets remember Zest and that time that he was nominated for MVP, and he has not forgotten, and he wants that again. I think in this tournament, I mean, he has definitely been a standout for T1. People talking about Proud, but this is a lethal DPS line across both Zest and Proud. Zest keeping this up, and again, it opens up with Donghack, just like I was touting him. He's been keeping up with Vestola on the Orisa. A Javelin onto Shockwave is how it starts, and a Swift Strike from Zest is how it ends.
Jwoo getting feisty. Zest keeps their feet on terra firma for now. Have to be careful as Donghack's getting in nice and close. Fixer found that out the hard way. Shockwave dips and dives onto the health pack, yes, but now they're caught in the corner, surrounded by the Orisa and the Genji. The brawl power might be too much to deal with. Vestola still creating a little bit of a ruckus back here, but the streets make sure to run them down. Virtus.Pro still having trouble getting through this choke.
And we talked about Skewed's Brigitte and how good he's been back on the, you said the LA Gladiators days, the Seoul Infernal days, alongside Zest as well. Skewed is the truth when it comes to this hero, and it shows being able to get that rally early on. If you just keep this guy off of the Lucio, it is going to pay dividends. Now T1 are going to have all the ults they need in order to hold this. They're coming up on this overclock, and Proud wants to shut the door.
Jaywin falling low, Shockwave noted elsewhere, Vestola, everyone's just going to start rounding upon that. Arrested if they go too far, an exchange of plays, dragged in by the Terror Surge, and Dongak says that my ult is better. Come over here for a cuddle, I don't care if you've got a blade. Shockwave, yes, has the Deadeye over on the point, but everyone else has plenty of cover to try and work with, and Virtus.Pro are 25% shy of being turned upon.
Yeah, you're going to be walking into Vigilante's Orbital Ray. Gallus should be able to match this, but you're really putting all the weight of the world on Vestola and this Terror Surge right now, as we're in one-fight territory, and Virtus.Pro are likely going to have to burn one or both of those ults just to get through the door. Here comes the Orbital Ray. Vigilante matches.
Lots of damage coming through. Vestola managed to chunk down Skewed. Vigilante as well. Both the supports going down is absolutely critical. Zest surrounded by multiple members of Virtus.Pro, while Proud's able to grab two on the backside. In the end, Virtus.Pro now have a chance. Perfection is demanded.
But now what do we have for this next fight? Not a whole lot. We are miles away from any other ultimates, and Skewed is closing in on that rally. And while that's not always a fight winner, it can extend things longer and longer until you start to build up to Proud's overclock. Zest potentially building up to another Dragon Blade. All you need is time, and if you're Virtus.Pro, you don't have it. You have to be perfect from here on out. Skewed just has to wait out the clock, do enough to build up to this rally, pop it, and then as long as there's time to build up to something else off the back of it, T1 are good.
Virtus.Pro need a hero. It can't be Shockwave. Might have to be Jwoo. Going to be one of his primary victims. You can see that Proud's going for it, and indeed lands Payder with the rail shot exactly when it was needed. Vestola's doing their best to dash over to the Mega, join their Brigitte in the back. Matilda calling out that maybe help is on the way, but no. In a Brig versus Brig bash-off, it's Skewed who wins it out. T1 flipped the point. No one's there to touch. The Bears, for now, have returned to hibernation, and T1 on their home turf take map number 1.
I erroneously said that Rally was not going to be a fight-winning ultimate, but it's a completely different story when the other team is going down into that fight, already down a man. You lose Shockwave to a rail shot from Proud, and that's the hit scam prowess. That's the Avril propaganda that he keeps propagating. Talking about Proud and how he's hitting these shots, that is like, it's the kind that isn't very flashy. It doesn't show, like, light up the kill feed, but it's the right kill at the right time that gives his team the advantage. All you needed to do was just play off the back of that, keep your foot on the gas, and that's what the rally ended up being at the tail end of it. And again, Skewed on the Brig is completely different from Skewed on the Lucio. You need to keep this guy off the Brig if you want to be able to have any chance at gapping on in the backline. Fixa, again, no slouch when it comes to the Brig, but like Skewed is just built different.
Future Brigitte man, potentially, on the table here. SOOP Overwatch Cup will return after this break.
오케이. 먼저 먹었어. 형이야 형. 끝. 그래 끝. 진짜 형이 참 맞췄어. 좋았다.
SOOP Overwatch Cup returning to your screens. We're at the grand finals, Siebes, and T1 starting off strong here against Virtus.Pro, taking Lijiang Tower after maybe being a slight bit embarrassed by Fixer's Lucio.
Yeah, but I think that's a mistake that they, well, unless Hero Bands have anything to say about it, they likely won't make again. You were talking a little bit before about how it seems likely that Virtus.Pro will at some point reach for that Lucio ban, but that is something that you can only reach for once. As we go into our next map pick, they're going to pick Circuit Royale. And I think this is wise because this means that you can save that Lucio ban for a future endeavor because it's unlikely we're going to see Frog Boy coming out on Circuit Royale. It's more likely we're going to see some more of that hit scan prowess. This is where we can actually start to see if the Tales of Proud do actually hold water.
Yeah, the Proud Nation ready to rise on up. Wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of Widowmaker gameplay in this day and age. Question is, where did T1 put their ban?
We also, yeah, you mentioned the ban. We also, unless it gets banned out, get to see Vestola on the Sigma, which is potentially his best hero if you don't include Diva. Could really go either way there, but his Sigma has just been absolutely crazy. Gapped Peppy on the Sigma yesterday. We'll see if he's able to even be allowed to play that hero again. We're also going to have Viper coming in for Zest. This, I think, is another interesting wrinkle to things. What do you make of this? Because to me, this is like, this feels weird because it's like, I feel like Zest's hero pool with like the Genji and the Pharah is like what we've seen a lot on this map. So what does Viper bring that Zest would not?
I mean, honestly, I couldn't tell you. Even as a career head, even as someone who's done their fair share of OWCS career, it feels like Viper and Zest have a significant amount of overlap.
Yeah. Like I don't want to knock Viper, but I'm just like, why?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of those old days when, you know, Houston Outlaws used to sub in Raucous and Repel for no reason to play exactly the same thing.
Don't remind me.
Maybe Viper is something that I haven't seen yet. I only got to cast one T1 match over the course of my run in OWCS career, and it was not overly impressive.
Hold on, I love all of these signs. Every single one of those.
That Tracer puppy.
It's so adorable, right? Like you've got that, and then I almost said Matilda, but that's Brigitte. That's Brig. And then you just got a chill guy over there, Vestola. He's a chill guy, you know.
The Virtus.Pro bear does not look very chill at all, though.
And why would you be? It's a grand finals. You're down a map. You know, you gotta be the apex predator, all right? You got Nightmare showing up to Hangzhou as fresh meat on the table. You gotta look like you're ready to eat, because everyone else over at Champions Clash, they are hungry.
Yeah, of course, we are going to see some of our... for the first time, we're going to see the resurgence of China as a competitive region coming on in once again. Ready to tear it up, formerly the Hangzhou Spark.
I love my team with my suspiciously pink, white, and blue flagged colors.
Yeah. Our suspiciously familiar team. Looking a little bit bored over here on the side of Fix.
Fix is about to fall asleep, like, homie.
ProZP. Do we know if Fix has been in the MEA with Virtus.Pro thus far, or has he been playing on ping?
I'm actually not sure. I'd like to imagine that he's been there. It's a, you know, maybe a teeny bit jet lagged. But all right.
Yeah.
Let's go hero bans. Okay. So, the initial ban on the Ramatra is very wise, very well played from Virtus.Pro, because that's also, it doubles down as a protect ban onto the Sigma. This locks you into a Sigma mirror, and I have full confidence in Vestola to get the better of Doghack when it comes to a Sigma mirror.
Yep. I like that. Manufacturing that Sigma matchup. This is where Vestola can really shine. We've seen Vestola bring absolute magic to the table. I remember one of Vestola's best games in his history. I think it might have been Overwatch World Cup. Potentially up against maybe Saudi Arabia, having an absolutely lights out Sigma game on Circuit Royale. Of course, this has kind of been the stomping ground of Sigma since it was released. However, on the other side, T1 getting rid of that Pharah kind of changes up the pace of the DPS game here as well. This might allow for a little bit more of that Widowmaker versus Widowmaker, which maybe Proud can start to excel in.
I'm still curious, though, what does Viper play in this scenario? Because I think Viper, and my mind immediately goes to Tracer, but this isn't really where we see Tracer. You know, those flex DPS players like your Vipers, your Zests, if they're gonna play a flex DPS on this map, it's usually either Pharah or Genji, or if we're feeling really saucy, the Mei. But in this situation where the Ramatra's off the field, I don't expect the Mei to come out, and I still kind of feel like I'd rather have Zest in to play the Mei if that was the route that we were gonna go. So I'm curious what the hero pick is even going to be, especially with the Pharah being completely off the table. And I guess while we have a little bit of a pause here, Fixa can have a little nap if he feels so inclined. Just tilt his head down. We can talk a little bit also. You brought that up about Vestola's performance in the Overwatch World Cup 2023. I went absolutely mental, both getting to cast the qualifiers for that, but also being at BlizzCon and getting to I lost my voice cheering for that third place matchup of Finland and South Korea. That was absolutely insane. His performance on the Sigma was like legendary. His performance all around was just goated. That series, by the way, also cemented my love of Push, the plays that they made on New Queen Street specifically.
New Queen Street remembers. Pepperidge Farm remembers, and we remember.
I had to stop because the audience had something far more important to say than anything I could have ever interjected. So I'll just leave it with, yeah, that series was great. That series was great. Push is goated. I love Vestola.
Oh man, that would be a great series to go back and watch again. I love a little bit of nostalgia watch, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All of the games from that weekend were incredible, and it made stars out of so many players. Another star that came out of Overwatch World Cup that year for me was Gala, who was playing main support at the time. Is absolutely cracked out of his mind on the Lucio and the Brig, and turns out he's also one of the best flex supports in the world too. Like, this guy is absolutely insane, and I've been singing his praises for a while, and this is another good opportunity for Gala to make a name for himself. This is also an interesting opportunity for T1 to catch Virtus.Pro entirely by surprise, because in no world did I expect to see Doomfist coming out on the defense here.
Okay, Doomfist coming out. What's the change here? All right. Still sticking with the Sigma, but they are going to have the Brigades come out. But, of course, allows for the counter punch to come on through. Nice dodge coming through onto the accretion, using that leap there from Donghack, who is going to actually have to cede space away. At the moment, Donghack is kind of presenting this stalling front line with their insertions to try and allow Proud time to find these picks.
Now, all Donghack has to do is deny Vestola from taking space here, and you do have a good opportunity to do that. The problem, though, is you don't really have any way to control the sight line, so Jwoo or Shockwave can get a lot of spam damage onto your backline, and T1 have already had to concede a fair bit of ground here. Viper, answering the question, by the way, is going to be on the Genji, but Vigilante already down.
Trade out for Fixer, though. Donghack managing to find them without a shield bash, getting them into a wall with the punch. Oh, Big Hunt coming through. Instead, actually looking for the burst heal of the pack. Proud, however, was left uncovered. Jaywu wrapping around the back. Zenyatta going to be an easy target for the Genji. And then following up onto Viper, no doubt. And, well, Viper will be able to escape into the loving arms of Ana, but that doesn't mean the cart's going to roll on through.
I think Donghack is finding out in real time why you play Sigma on this map. Like, you're getting a lot done as the Doomfist. Like, no one's going to say that Donghack isn't getting work done. That punch onto Fixa was absolutely massive, but you don't really have the presence on this map as you need from your tank compared to Vestola on the Sigma, who, by the way, nearly has a Gravitic Flux already.
Nearly there. Pushing out so much damage thus far. Damage boost, or nano boost coming out. Oh, what a sleep coming through from Vigilante. Shuts down Vestola midway through. Fixer doing their best to avoid the incoming damage from a Doomfist. The pocket's good. Charge up onto the punch, though. And Donghack just forced to escape elsewhere. Heals up for a second, comes on back thereafter. Punched up. Charged up, ready to go. Proud is deep in the back right now. Such a wide spread here from T1, and they're going to use it to leverage onto Shockwave and grab themselves an early frag, but Vestola's turning it around themselves. Scoot's already gone on down, and Donghack's exactly the same. A well-placed Hypersphere onto a Genji could be everything, but Jaywu goes down to a melee from an old woman. Even with those weak wrists, she still gets it done, and the cart's been rolling the entire time.
You would be surprised just how hard she can slap, but Vestola did a whole lot of slapping as well. Well, that whole time we were following Donghack in the backline of Virtus.Pro, Vestola was just putting out all of the orbs, all of the accretions, all of the damage, putting up the shield, so the backline of T1 didn't really have any say in that fight. So when the dust settles, Virtus.Pro with 5.5 minutes, and they cap point B.
Shockwave wrapping around the outside. Nice reflect there onto that disruptor shot. Heads up play coming through from Viper. Vestola falling low, but of course uses the kinetic grasp to get out of there without any real danger being accrued. Now it's going to be the overclock brought in by Proud. No one really wants to present themselves to Proud during this overclock, and anyone who does is going to be in deep trouble. Brigitte caught in the corner. Viper does not want to exit into 3 players. It's too much of a dangerous doorway to try and play, so instead they'll just settle for Vestola.
Oh, that's 2 DPS ults traded for a rally. If you're Virtus.Pro, I think you take that. You're still going to have to worry about the support ults coming out from T1, but if you get even 1 kill, you can break this spawn hold, and then you have all the space in the world for Jaywu and or Shockwave to pop ults of their own. By the way, Vestola coming up on another Gravitic Flux. As long as he doesn't get slept out of this one, that's going to be another way to break this one open. T1 have the dubious task of bleeding so much time off this bank, and they have to make sure they're using their tools to do it wisely.
Donghack just making it very difficult to enter here. Shockwave pops out. The overclock with 150 charge on these shots. A well-placed headshot here could end everything. But for now, T1 staying very disciplined in their positioning. And while there will be 1 player caught in that Gravitic Flux, the damage isn't really good enough, and Donghack can easily return to Verana for a little bit of easy healing. Skewed pops the rally, scares Jaywu off of that high ground, maybe in his try to turn this one around with the blade at just the right time, and the damage boost that was delivered from your Ray was perfect to make sure that you could cut through the extended armor of the Brigitte.
And that cost them everything. Virtus.Pro aren't going to have any more tools in the bank, and they're going to have a lot of overhealth to try and chunk through somehow. Donghack is coming up on that Primal Rage. You need to try and negate that. Vestola is going to play up super aggressively to make sure we can at least get the cart around that corner and take it to the home stretch. But it's going to be a slow burn to try and get it the rest of the way, unless Jaywu and Shockwave come up aces here. And that anti into Shockwave, I mean, nah, it ain't happening. You ain't finding those shots.
Oh, Skewed overextends too far, though. Was a trade for Vestola, yes, so maybe value in the end, given how close you are to your respawn here. Donghack's going to be able to post up on the corner. This is yet another difficult corner for Virtus.Pro to try and take without any ults, and Vestola's going to give up what charge they had to go Orisa.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see how this Orisa pick ends up working out. Maybe Virtus.Pro want to go for a wraparound. You can already see the silhouettes all up on the high ground. Everyone looking like they are indeed going to try and wrap at least a little bit. No, wait, no. Doubling back over onto the cart. I mean, their angle of approach is going to be everything here, because again, they still don't have any tools to work with, and T1 have everything, and they have time. So all you have to do if you're T1 is wait until these ults get forced out.
Shockwave for now has himself a nice window to work with. I believe Fixer may well have been stuck with that disruptor shot and was not able to escape it. Donghack with exactly the play that they needed towards the back. A quick tap with a Tesla coil to get Jaywu out of there. And now Proud is simply putting the boot in with this. I don't know if the overclock was entirely necessary, but in the end, you can't deny the showmanship of it. Virtus.Pro sent back packing.
Yeah, Virtus.Pro right now are very much so losing in the ult economy game. All right, art of the deal. T1, they pop the overclock and they get the hold off of that. We're down to 2 minutes in the time bank, and Virtus.Pro are only just now coming up to a rally, one that skewed is close to matching. We still haven't baited out Donghack's Primal Rage. We still haven't baited out this Nano Blade, and as we come to the door, I got to imagine Viper is salivating.
Oh, an attempt to escape, getting that quick reset onto the shield bash to get away. Oh, Dosey don't! Oh, Fixer broke his ankles. There's no other way to put it. I didn't even know Vipers could have legs, and yet ankles have been broken. Donghack has to reinforce this push with their own Primal Rage. But Virtus.Pro still have a little bit of forward presence here that needs to be addressed. Donghack returns to their support to get themselves healed up. Jwoo's actually in an isolated situation here. Going to try and reset themselves off the edge. No, is actually going to commit to it. Has both of their supports who backed on in. Out comes the orbital ray as well. It needs to be a disengagement here. Donghack's having turned upon him. Oh, view in a reverse card is too strong. An extra dash coming through. The rally's not good enough to get away. And Proud is just doing his best to flee. Oh, the sword's not long enough. It's okay. It happens. Jwoo still forces them out to get a momentary play off the healing shockwave, bring everyone forward. Out comes the ball to touch the car at the last possible moment. Extra charge on the rails. It's even more that has to be feared. A minute remains on the clock. Donghack can't possibly stand up to all this damage, and while Vigilante and Skewed are still alive, they aren't touching the cart. Virtus.Pro, 54 seconds.
That was okay. You said Uno reverse card. Nah, that was Mirror Force, all right? I don't know how Fixa did it, but like you said, broke Viper's ankles, and that forced T1 to try and double down, so Donghack also pops the Primal Rage going in super deep. But like by the time that expires, Virtus.Pro have all the tools they need. Jwoo is, like you said, off on an island all by himself, but the cavalry comes through, invests the orbital ray, they find the kill onto Donghack, and then they have ults to spare, snowball that into a full cap that they had no business ever getting. In an ideal situation for T1, they would have popped that Nano Blade, gotten the kills they needed with it, got out, and just played for the next fight. Still have that Primal Rage to go off of. But the fact that that gets forced out just completely crumples the defense piece by piece, brick by brick. It all falls down, and Virtus.Pro get the cap with nearly a minute in the time bank. And now if you're T1, like, we're seeing Donghack hover over the Zarya now. Like, T1 are trying to reinvent the wheel. They don't even really know what they can play on this map. This feels like Virtus.Pro have struck at a weakness of theirs.
That Jade Liari weapon. Ugh. That's all I got to say. We're seeing double Liari right now. Vigilante, though, has everything they need.
I agree. I like the rose on this, but also, yeah, you're right. Ugh. The galactic weapon, though, much cleaner.
Terrible. What a terrible day to have eyes.
The Jade weapon looks good on some skins for some heroes, some guns. That's not one of them.
Yeah. That's not going to be a purchase, I'm not going to lie. Out comes the Winston here, already going to be getting a lot of pressure onto him. Actually just puts himself into a little bit of a nest with the Mei. Not ideal. Admittedly, easier to escape with the Winston versus those Mei walls. Good dodge coming through from Viper. And a claving of the high ground here as well. Gala just sticking close to Vestella. This is what you like to see from your Iliari, though. Getting stuck in, able to deliver all that healing. And of course, having that pylon behind means that you don't really need to turn around for Fixer that often. It's just able to easily duel out against any divers who come deep, as Viper's found out the hard way. Skewed super low. Vestella can't quite deliver the final hypersphere, but hey, successful defense is successful defense.
And what's interesting too is you can see Gala and Fixa both playing on the low ground under the bridge. All instincts, if you're a Winston player, tell you dive the high ground, but all you're going to find up there is Shockwave, who has the slide to get out of dodge. So every time you jump up, no shield, you get all that spam damage on your backline. Skewed is going to fall with just a little bit of extra stray damage from Shockwave. And now you've lost, like, all your staying power in this fight.
Oh, every day we swap onto Gala. POV, my eyes vomit and you. Ready with the captive sun. It's been a while since I've had to say that ultimate name while casting, I've got to admit. Vigilante as well, the orbital ray, good to go. Oh, not ideal when it comes to a speed boost, but here we go. Up into the air, Gala already decimated while looking for that captive sun. And it's been a full investment here from Virtus.Pro when it comes to those supporting ultimates, and they've been absolutely wiped off the map.
And T1, like, they're coming up on a Nano Blade as well. Proud is going to have the overclock. You can even go for a Nano OC. You could also Nano Donghack, who's coming up onto that Primal Rage. And now that the defense has finally been cracked wide open, T1 can try and play aggressively, get the full cap here, and force Virtus.Pro to play into them. Fixa going to go ahead and ditch the Baptiste. Full swaps for Virtus.Pro's backline.
Nano boost coming on over onto Viper. Unable to earn that last percentage point. Gets it off passive ult charge. Doesn't quite want to drag their blade out right now because Proud's already active with the overclock here. Walled off from this. Viper takes to the skies. Wants in onto Vestola. The blade is ideal against a Sigma. It's a nice reflect and a great corner peek as well. Viper plays their health bar so well to try and get close to this. And while it is going to be an attempt to run away, in the end, Donghack just domineers the space on the cart and gets it done in the end.
That felt super ambitious from Viper, but as soon as you take down Vestola, you have to throw these much less meaty, much less beefy health bars at the point to try and keep it in contention. And yeah, everyone used their escape abilities. The point just kind of caps lackadaisically in the middle of that fight, and T1 now have the opportunity to deny all of the high ground and get themselves through the most treacherous part of Streets phase here. Virtus.Pro, I mean, it's going to be a Shockwave overclock going up into Donghack's Primal Rage, and that is a tough ask for any Sojourn.
Donghack can get a little bit risky, at least has that Primal Rage good to play with if they feel the need to. For now, just hops into cover. Hopes they're going to get healed on up. Everyone else hides away as Shockwave wonders about the incoming damage. Donghack's already lost Vigilante. Pops the Primal Rage anyway. Vestola's getting involved in the backline. He's going crazy, marauding on the Warhorse like a Mongolian band of raiders in the years of old, but still put down. They erected a wall and it kept them out for a while longer. And Fixa going to be able to flee.
But I like the way Vestola is playing. Like, he's playing these Brawl tanks as though they are dives. He sees Donghack going in for these aggressive plays, even with the Primal Rage, trusts his team to be able to live through that, and goes in deep. He contested the cart that whole time and put out the damage, which means they get another contest.
Orbital race exchanged here. Plenty of healing, plenty of damage. Scoot's going to be the main victim of that one. Shockwave would love to shut down Vigilante in this position, but instead is actually stuck with a Disruptor shot coming through from Proud. Donghack's actually in enemy territory right now. It's guerrilla warfare in the back, but in the end, it's not as successful as you'd hope. Viper gets one, maybe a second, but no, just doesn't have the HP to make this one work. Virtus.Pro hold at the end of second.
And this is where it's going to get really dicey. I mean, T1 don't have to worry so much about Virtus.Pro having control of this high ground, at least right now, because the respawns are still coming through, so they should be able to get back to the cart quite easily. But now they don't really have the cover, and they're playing into Virtus.Pro's hand. They're playing into this Terra Surge, potentially a Sound Barrier. Viper's Sound Barrier is going to have to do a ton of work here. Maybe they double down and use the overclock as well from Proud.
All in here. Oh, Shockwave at range. Absolutely destroyed. Noticing that there's no defensive cooldown here from Proud. They try to all in on him, both for Terra Surge and the Blade. Viper goes to reanimate all in mid-air. Jwoo's super low and chased down by Donghack as well. And Vestola's wondering where have my mates gone. Oh, my friends, they've all left me behind. And Mothercart may well be rolling. The healing should be here. We see that Gala's coming up behind. Vestola's going to put their body on the line using that Javelin spin to try and make something happen. Fortify as well. Damage reduction stacked on up to give them the staying power that's needed. But while you're caught in the corner, Viper and the Brigade just overwhelming forces levied. Gala super low, can't peek to heal. And T1, they have 2.5 minutes to try and get themselves to completion.
That's still really smart from Vestola, though. Like, he just contests cart that whole time and then dips back around the corner, then comes back out for a last-second contest. Obviously, you're not going to have the soldiers alive to keep that alive for very long, but you do bleed a little bit more time out of the time bank. You're losing out on the ability to spawn hold the way that T1 spawn held you, though, which kind of sucks. I got to be completely honest with you, but the plus side is you get the opportunity to take high ground while Donghack's making that swap, so you can set Shockwave up to where he can try and deny some of these angles from Proud, from Viper.
No.
Oh, you can't deny that, though.
All right, I'm starting to believe. Avril, you might have been right. Vestola falling low. Shockwave having to play this a little bit more afraid for now, and while it is a well-placed javelin, it's not quite in time. However, a well-placed rail is exactly when it's needed. So much pressure's now been taken away from the side of Virtus.Pro. T1 are just taking all the space they want. Look at the bravery here on Skewed with the rally, chasing down the Sarissa. It's going to have to move away now into the orbital ray. The extra damage could be too much. The bear coming in close against the Genji. Up close and personal with the shurikens. Donghack gets it done again. Viper draws out the blade for intimidation purposes only, swinging it around like a kid who's had too many swings before an anime convention. And Virtus.Pro are going to have to take this to extra rounds.
The Proud propaganda is definitely firing on all cylinders. It's not, again, it's not always the most flashy plays, but it's when you least expect it, the biggest picks that come out. Like, you just catch Fixa asleep at the wheel, get him with a headshot, and then, well, everyone's like, okay, we're backing up from that. We don't expect to lose anybody else. Doink, there goes Shockwave 2, and suddenly you're down 2 men. You don't have anything resembling a defense, and T1 can just waltz forward for free. You know, a little bit more of that out of Proud, and then suddenly this team becomes just unstoppable. But when you're playing against Vestola, who's playing super smart, you do have to try and play 4 more of those. The question for me is going to be, can T1 continue to set Proud up to hit more of those shots? Because if that happens, I suspect this is going to be a very competitive overtime scenario here on Circuit Royale. The Circuit Royales today, both have been phenomenal thus far. If T1 managed to pull this one out, you know, I think we double down on it. 2 back-to-back bangers on Circuit.
I love a good Circuit Royale, honestly. I hate playing this map, personally. It's no good for my hero pool, but I love watching it.
Not a hit scan, Andy? You're more of a...
I'm a Sombra player. I kind of reading myself for filth here. I'm a Sombra player.
I mean, the same, but it's just because I had enough of being a support player getting farmed by Doomfist players, so I had to become
become Vengeance. I am the Knight.
Yeah, I'm on my Batman era as Sombra, just trying to make tank players' lives a living hell, and it seems to be that is the idea, is to do that for Donghack. You know, Sola is back on the Sigma, can take space aggressively here. What is this Orisa going to be able to accomplish up against Virtus.Pro? Just going back to what works.
Yeah, tried and true Orisa here. Sigma does match up fairly professionally into it, though. This is still Vestola's map to control at this point. Proud taking a little bit of danger here as Fixa under pressure from all of this. Oh, Skewed got exactly what was needed. A well-placed bash into a wall. The burst damage was given on over. Jay-Woo's gone as well. Skewed is absolutely on it right now. And this is exactly what we were afraid of after Lijiang Tower, forcing that Brigitte versus Brigitte, because this is where Skewed dominates. 3 final blows already, by the way, in this first fight, and is absolutely dominating. There's no one to touch the point. And, well, it's not unwinnable for Virtus.Pro, given a lot of space over with T1, but it is looking difficult.
It's not unwinnable, but it is unlikely. I mean, like, if you're Virtus.Pro, like, that feels like it's not enough distance to go for a full spawn hold, because, you know, if you end up crumbling or staggering at all, you risk the cart just rolling up and you don't get a chance at a recontest. So you kind of have to just bank it all on one really, really good defense unless they manage to all die on cart with a spawn hold. It's a really tricky situation for Virtus.Pro. I want to see, you know, if this timer can go a little bit faster, because I'm anxious. I want to see what they come out with. It's, Hanzo on the defense? Okay.
It might just be a scout with the... Oh, wait, yeah, of course, on the defense.
Yeah.
Me paying attention? Of course not. Vigilante, of course, doing his recital. Proud parents look on.
Did you see the video, by the way, that Ob Sojourn, shout out, by the way, posted of Proud playing Baby Shark on this?
Ob Sojourn, always good for some content.
I don't recognize this tune. I think you might be a little bit more classical musically inclined than me. That ain't Chapel Roan, so I don't know. I don't know what he was playing there. That was not The Giver. Okay, so it is a small...
I believe that was Party Rock Anthem by LMFAO.
Well, LMFAO is definitely what T1 are going to be saying once they see this defense from Virtus.Pro. They've already forced them off of the high ground with just a simple Sin TP. They flipped the map.
My Proud likely going to be swapping over back to the Brigitte here. Donghack getting very aggressive. Shockwave is very much in a difficult position. Virtus.Pro, of course, they are playing for 2 fights here rather than 1. So the last thing you want to see here is that cart moving in advance. You can see that currently it is under the protection of Jay-Woo, who will not let that go easily. And now we're going to go to our final fight.
Well, you do have some time. Like you said, they do have the opportunity to go for a recontest. Fix is going to swap over that Lucio just to make sure that we have the speed to get there in time. No swaps, though, from Virtus.Pro, so you're going to have to worry about where Proud gets set up on this Bastion, because that is going to be a lot of front-loaded damage that could easily just burn Vestola down and force positioning. That, even if it doesn't confirm a kill, is scary.
One fight to rule them all, and with Symmetra TPs to bind them, it's going to be an exchange of beams here, and that means that both of these Orisas are in desperate danger. A good flipping of the map here coming through from the side of T1. Fixer doing their best, just pump in those heals. Oh, the sleep goes awry into a fortified Orisa. This could be brutal to try and deal with. Vestola's already gone down. Proud the same. And Viper just doing their best with a photon barrier to make this one work. Virtus.Pro needs to stick onto this cart no matter what, but Doghack's making it a very hostile work environment using the Terror Surge. And too far away, T1 managed to slip it on through at the last second.
Unfortunately, they lost the one soldier they could not afford to lose in an overtime situation, and it was Vestola. You needed that health bar, you needed the tank, you needed the staying power. I like the idea to go for the spawn hold, and it was executed to near perfection, but the problem was, you had to try and play too aggressively to not give that Bastion the angle. You took so much damage just trying to even get there. A Bastion sim is a tough task for any tank to go up against, especially in Orisa, because I mean, you can't even spear spin, all right? Like, you're going to take all of the damage from the sim at close range. Like, that's not even going to be enough to save you. So T1, I mean, on a map that feels like it was tailor-made to help Virtus.Pro win, get the dub. And again, I have to ask, like, okay, do we reach for that Lucio ban and try and play, something else? Or do we reach for that Brig ban and try and force the Lucio?
Well, we'll find out if the Brig ban is going to be broken out of containment after this break.
포커싱. 심해. 얘들아 심해. 끝. 주먹. 공간이 쳤어. 트랙이야 얘들아.
2-0 the way of T1 right now, but given how these maps have been going, Steves, I reckon it could have been 2-0 the other way with a couple of fights going different ways. T1 seem to be back, though, going up against the best of EMEA. They are looking nice and strong.
Now, the best of EMEA damn sure came to fight, and I think, like you said, there is a world where it's 2-0 the other way, or it's 1-1. But unfortunately, we live in this world, in this reality, and it's dictated entirely by T1 with a little bit of say from Virtus.Pro's map picks, and they are going to take us to Runasapi. This is interesting because push often facilitates rush compositions, and we have been begging and asking the question, when are we going to get that Brig ban to force Skewed out of his comfort zone and just play fast? Just disgusting, overwhelm the Koreans with our EMEA force. You know, the rush that the Europeans just love to play, us Westerners. If we can rush, we will. There we go. There it is. There it is.
See, I'm not sure if I'm a huge fan of the Brigitte ban here, because while I agree that Brigitte ban is very important, I think that Rush is the map type where you are happy to take Brigitte versus Lucio. I think that they probably could have saved a Brigitte ban for a map where you're more likely to see Brigitte and where Lucio is not necessarily the better hero for the map type overall.
I think the problem with that, though, is, like, those are the maps where you're going to want to play dive anyway, because that's where Brig kind of thrives, is, like, that Ana Brig backline to try and bolster a Winston or a Diva. And, I mean, the Diva's also banned here, so, I mean, I think there is still the likelihood that Virtus.Pro will want to play the Brig themselves at some point in time. And while we're kind of harping on that one specific thing, it's because it's the main gap that we've seen. You know, when Fixa is on the Lucio and it's mirrored against Skewed, Fixa just gaps and G1 really have no agency in the fight. When Skewed is on the Brig, he's a force to be reckoned with. And that, like, it's one of those things, right? Where, like, hold on, cheering. It's one of those things, right? Where, let's carry on. Where, you know, you want to try and have advantages wherever you can. I still think that, you know, having Vestola on the Sigma on Circuit Royale was an advantage, but that didn't really pan out. So now we're gonna, okay, all right, what is this shaky cam? Hello? We in a Breaking Bad scene now?
Acknowledging the watery eyes of a llama. Or an alpaca. Is it a llama or an alpaca? I don't have my Peru lore down.
I think it's a llama, but I'm only guessing that because I've watched Emperor's New Groove many times.
Pretty based of you, actually.
Cusco, is that you?
Never. All right, going to be a matching of the Hazard versus the Ramatre already. Wow, Shockwave just gets punched in the face. True Grug attack here from T1, just absolutely running over Shockwave, and now Viper. Oh, he's found the creamy innards, and he's scooping him out. He wants Gala and manages to find it. Nice right click there. Viper staying in here for maybe a little bit better Genji. Maybe this is what's really the differentiator between Viper and Zest. A better Genji?
Virtus.Pro gonna make some immediate swaps. I'm curious to see if this Zenyatta from Fixa stays, though, because that's a nice meaty target for a Hazard. It should be pretty easy to just get on top of Fixa and take him down. Maybe the Discord Orb will have a fair bit of value, but you need to try and keep your Zen safe, and I don't know that the Juno swap coming out from Gala is really gonna be able to facilitate that. Vestola is gonna have a lot of work to do if he wants to try and keep Donghack in check here.
Yeah, proud of a fully charged rail as well. So easy to get that off of the Arista, and so easy to hit the headshot as well. Getting aggressive. One scene onto the backline. Oh, they've just been decimated. Oh, where do they go? Fixa absolutely just turned into a twisted metal salad where Montanomnic Monk stood. And, well, that's just desperate flight here for Gala to try and get away. But that means Vestola's up the creek without a paddle, without a friend. And guess who's returned at the worst possible time? Donghack pins them to the wall with their own. And, well, Architecture wins out every time.
It's worst case scenario too, because like T1 snowball all of those kills over and over again, and Virtus.Pro aren't making swaps, so they're gonna have a little bit of a high ground advantage going into this next point as we wait for the butt scratch and now a little bit more bot progress to come through. But like if you're T1, like you can keep parlaying this into more and more momentum as the ultimates start to come up, and you can just keep hunting down Private Fixa. Like you have Shockwave right now trying to protect him, but I don't know that that's going to be enough. Like Donghack does not care. If he sees that slide come out from Shockwave, it is go time.
Jwoo. A hero's demanded. Can you avenge so many fallen on your team? Shockwave just overwhelmed. T1 just keep grugging at them. The caveman strats are working. Just press W, forehead. Out comes the Terror Surge. Gonna be difficult to escape that one. Skew doesn't manage to get away, and so takes a bunch of damage, finished off with a Javelin thereafter. But guess what? Donghack's getting involved once again. A trance has to be popped in the back line. It's unideal, but it's necessary for survival. And while the bot is in this transitionary state between the two places, there's gonna be forward spawns for T1.
Might have also been a forced error, forcing Vigilante to use that orbital ray. Forced or unforced, I'm not quite sure, but Gala is going to have one here going into this next fight. So Virtus.Pro should be able to take some momentum for their own if they can just deal with the ults from T1. And Viper is looking for a blade. He's found the backline.
Trance already expended. Oh, nice kick right there. Oh, double reflect. Triple reflect. Sphinxer, what are you doing? Oh, Viper just gets that one super easy. Still, it's only one off the blade, so it could be worse. Vestola turns around Proud on the other side, but I think that already the damage is permanent. Fixer and Gala are down. They're both going to swap over to brand new heroes. The damage is too much for Vestola to bear. Oh, Fixer, why did you shoot yourself 3 times?
A little bit of a missed time there. I think he thought Viper was going to put the deflect down and go for the dash, but unfortunately, no such luck. I guess no one kills me but me, going down the hero's death for Fixa. But I like the swaps now. The Kiri Lucio is going to have a lot more survivability when it comes to this hazard. And Virtus.Pro have bled out the ult bank for T1. If they can make something out of Shockwave's overclock here, they should be able to start to get themselves back on the board. But, I mean, that's step 1.
Shockwave managing to avoid this first tier of the dive, but Fixer not quite so lucky. An attempt to wall right away is taken down by Donghack at range. Finally, Shockwave coming in with the overclock. We've been waiting years for Shockwave to make themselves known in this fight, and indeed they're going to manage to make it happen finally. Not before losing Vestola though. Dodges away into Viper, feeling spicy on the Genji right now. Oh, it's a picante performance from the wayward cyborg ninja. Prowl gets a lovely headshot onto Jay-Woo, and Virtus.Pro, they are just being smacked around.
Even when they win, they can't win. They take down the 2 highest value targets on T1, Vigilante and Donghack, and they still lose because Proud and Viper just frag out. And now, once again, you know, while you're waiting for those respawns, you might still have to invest ults just to get out of the spawn and start to get the bot back in your favor. And meanwhile, Proud has an angle.
Oh, nasty plays here. Donghack doing his best to platform away. Vestola running down the Sojourn. Proud pocketed for now, though. Heals coming in from the Juno. Jay-Woo takes down Vigilante. So now, oh no, they're still managing to turn it around. My goodness, they are just sublime when it comes to playing these underhanded fights. T1, when the going gets tough, they lock in.
I mean, Virtus.Pro, like, this looks pretty dire. I gotta say, like, T1 have nearly every ult save for skewed sound barrier in the bank to try and brute force us the rest of the way through. They're gonna give some ground and try and force an error out of Virtus.Pro because they know they have the bot and time on their side.
Oh.
All they need is an opportunity. Shockwave might have just robbed them of it, though.
Yeah, Shockwave puts Proud down, put the fries in the bag, kid. And Donghack going a little bit too far out here. This is going to be a very aggressive play from Skewed. Likely to be punished for this one. Donghack desperately needs some healing. Does have a downpour with 2 HP. It's a little bit too much to ask him to use it here, though. 4.5 minutes. How many fights do we need to win in a row to get a lead here? 9?
You know, we're not quite pushing double digits yet, but I'm going to go ahead and be a little bit more conservative and say 3 to 4, depending on the spawns and whether or not we get some snowballs here. The problem for Virtus.Pro, though, is they didn't get anything out of T1. They didn't force any ult investment, so that insurmountable wall that they've got is only getting bigger.
All right, Kitsune Rush coming out. Viper ready to hunt. Downpour comes on through, forces out Fixer's sound barrier. Up close and personal, Viper slices through Shockwave, and Proud finding themselves pretty unperturbed in this position at the moment, even this close to Vestola. There's no real danger being levied. Maybe Gala can make something happen here with the Kiriko kunais, and while there is some progress being made on the bot in the midst of all of this, Jay-Woo falling down complicates matters significantly. Gala teleports away, but it's just into their death as they found the business end of a violent leap from Donghack.
The good news is they did force ults out of T1 now, though. I mean, but Skewed has managed to build back up to that sound barrier. It's gonna take a lot of heavy lifting to chunk through all that Virtus.Pro are coming up with. But again, you're having to invest ultimates just to gain control of the bot, not even to get progress. 12.94 meters is definitely, it's peanuts compared to what T1 has.
Shockwave with an angle. Straight away, the Genji is right on top of them. Donghak trying to chase out Shockwave even more. Public enemy number one. Proud gets the headshot at range just with the primary fire of a Sojourn. Vestola suddenly feeling the fear. It's a zoning javelin, yes. And while the bot has been moving away, it seems like T1 have their priorities straight right now. Just make Shockwave unable to play the game until Jwoo with 90 HP draws out the blade, going in after Viper, unable to escape for now. Spike Guard makes it too difficult to try and slice on through the Scottish man. You're gonna need a bigger knife than that one, mate. As Jwoo just keeps them at bay for a moment. The car continues to move, and it has actually turned off the forward spawn of T1 here, but Proud's back in action and able to build up towards one of these rail guns. Vestella picks up the Mega, yes, but a well-placed headshot could actually end this here, and now you can see the hazard. Oh, he's hunting, and he's found himself a cow where they least expected it.
And it's like you didn't have Gala for that entire fight, so Vestola is just hunting for any sort of sanctuary and just finds himself in a pincer move between Donghak and Proud. And you're going to lose all of that progress that you made. I mean, T1 are getting the bot nearly back up to that barricade once again, where Virtus.Pro only have, at this point, okay, T1 are going to stall the bot out, so Virtus.Pro are going to get 2 fights here. But once again, T1 are waiting for the fight to come to them and forcing an error out of Virtus.Pro.
Downpour available here for Donghak. Knows that Vestola can't do too much about it. Of course, if Fortify is available. Oh, this actually could be a big setup here for Donghak. Moving in, trying to shut them down. Yeah, that's going to be caught in place. Vestola instantly eviscerated, executed even. That big old head can catch so many shots. You can fit so many bullets in this baby. And Shockwave the last to fall, taking down Proud as Gala. This might already be curtains.
Vestola got caught behind the food cart. He didn't get the sound barrier from Fixa. That's what ends up causing that death. Even though Donghak pops that downpour, there's a chance Vestola lives that with the sound barrier over health, but he never got the chance. And again, Virtus.Pro have to keep spending just to even keep themselves alive. They're fighting for survival at this point in time, and T1, all it takes now in under a minute is one really good fight to snuff the oxygen out.
Skew taken down by the Terror Surge. Viper super low. That'd be a great one to pick up. And Proud's actually been taken out by Gala on the other side. Big aggressive plays coming through from T1. Finally, they found their tempo. Are they rushing or are they dragging?
It's a Terror Surge just to get out of spawn, but look at T1. Both DPS ults and a sound barrier coming up. Like, that is a lot to ask for just one lowly Kitsune rush from Gala. Virtus.Pro finally going to break the forward spawns again, but T1 are going to be ready to square up and pop these ultimates. And with no sound barrier on your side, Fixa does not have an ultimate. Proud and or Viper can just have their way with your team. It is going to be an insurmountable task for Virtus.Pro. You're looking for a pick, you're looking for Jwoo, you're looking for Shockwave, you're looking for anything.
Shockwave under so much pressure. Skewed's already got him. Viper now chasing down the reinforced buttocks of the Orisa and slicing through them to make themselves a rump cutter steak. Oh, what the shit was that, Proud? Jwoo! Oh, Proud is absolutely living up to the propaganda.
Are you a believer now? Are you a believer now?
Yeah. I'm a theist.
I gotta say I'm a believer as well. Like, that was absolutely insane. And it comes off the back as well of Shockwave going so deep, so aggressive, because just like I said, Virtus.Pro have to make a move. They have to make a play. They don't have the ults to take this fight on their terms, so they need a pick. And Shockwave knows he's got to make it happen, but he goes too deep, gets a little bit too low at HP, skewed with a boop, cleans him up, and then everything else is just Proud having a shooting gallery.
Oh my goodness. Proud putting on a clinic right now. VP. It didn't feel so good, Mr. Stark. We'll see if they can recover with a reverse sweep in this best of 7 after our break.
아 키리 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 아 오른쪽에다 오른쪽 키리 아 키리
Oh, not feeling good if you're a Bears fan right now. Virtus.Pro currently 0-3 down against T1. And of course, Virtus.Pro after this tournament are heading over to Hangzhou for the Champions Clash as the #1 seed from EMEA. So it's time to lock in Siebes and find that reverse sweep, Gene.
Yeah, some of you guys watching at home might have popped off for a pee break or maybe went to go refill the popcorn. If you didn't see the cams, we were talking about how there's genuine anguish on the face of Shockwave. I mean, it feels like we're on the brink of, we'll say really testing the mental fortitude of Virtus.Pro. It's not a great scenario. They've burned the Brig ban that we were talking about, so you're gonna have to deal with Skewed's wrath on that hero throughout the rest of the series. If you win Suravasa, you no longer even get a map pick, so you have to win on T1's terms. The reverse sweep seems unlikely, but never count the Bears out. This is where they have to make their final stand. This is where they have to start that momentum, where they have to get that reverse sweep, and they have chosen Suravasa. This, to me, feels like we're going to see more of that Orisa that a lot of these Brawl tanks have been leaning towards. Maybe we get the Ramatra instead, but this isn't where you see a whole lot of dive. It does also, unfortunately, open the door for a Donghack Wrecking Ball, which I suspect... never mind, I was going to say I suspect Virtus.Pro might go for a ban, but instead they're going to ban the Winston, which I think is interesting because Korea do love their dive. Oh boy. Oh, that's a middle finger from T1.
That's the counterpoint to the Brigitte ban. Trying to force potentially Brigitte versus Brigitte here, but also we've seen that there's plenty of variety on the side of T1. I mean, shout out to this team. They've recovered remarkably well with Vigilante in their roster now instead of Opener. It's opened up a bunch of new avenues for T1. It's really allowing for Proud and Viper to start flexing their muscles on these DPS picks. And honestly, it feels like often Shockwave is finding themselves just absolutely information gaps, just punched in the face with no idea that someone was coming over.
Yeah, it's going to have to be a drastic change of pace from Virtus.Pro. And again, like, you know, I suspect with the Winston ban and even with the Lucio ban, we're still probably going to see something Rush flavored, albeit most likely with Junos because teams are going to want some speed. So T1, all right, Juno, the cheers got to...
You get used to it.
Yeah, I haven't casted enough Korea. I always forget that happens, but I remember watching at home and being like, oh, I love the sounds of the crowd, and I always forget. It's my first time getting to cast Korea, and I love to see it. I love to see these players. I also love to see what Virtus.Pro is coming out here with. On Suravasa, this is an interesting look. Sigma Bap Ilyari.
Wow, that's new here from Virtus.Pro. This is a very unique look coming through. Vesto's just going to claim a bunch of space already. Donkhack playing over on the Orisa. Not the most common pick that I've seen from him over the course of his competitive history. But of course, it was a different meta, it was a different time, and it was a different angle here from Skewed, really presenting some threats onto Vestola from far away. Playing this two-man flank here between Viper and Skewed. Vigilante is responsible for Proud, who at the moment is falling super low. Vestola's covered escape here is going to mean that Donkhack is going super deep. But look at the value out of that javelin spin. Proud might send a little bit of an awry shot there off the back of this, but it should be a first cap going the way of T1. Hold up, Vestola's vesting. The vest has been donned, and Skewed is alone, is able to avoid the incoming accretion. The babysitting here should be enough coming through as Fixer takes themselves out and hurt himself in his confusion.
Yeah, not the first time we've seen that particular interaction play out, but it is going to be Virtus.Pro getting the first cap here, and it looked a little bit dicey at first, and to hang on, Donkhack going to swap over to the Wrecking Ball. That's something that I thought was going to be coming out, and oh, homie wants to spawn camp Fixer.
Yeah, the harass is real right now. Caught in the corner. Fixer just doing their best to avoid the incoming damage. Gala's just going to be sitting pretty up here. And you could be sitting pretty with top tier entertainment if you sign up for an account here at SOOPlive.com to make sure that you're following us here at Ex Oblivione GG and OW_esports_KR. Donkhack staying on top of things. Of course, he has a Soup account. You better believe it. Gets blasted away by the coach gun. Could have avoided that by having a Soup Live account. I can tell you that much. And the array damage is going to get rid of Shockwave, flipped over in favor of T1.
If Virtus.Pro had a Soup Live account, they probably could have seen that coming.
Speed sellout, baby.
Hopefully we've hit the ad reads quota enough for right now. T1 have got a ton of ults in the bank. I'm looking at Viper's Dragon Blade, which has been a game changer just about every single time he pops it. We're seeing, you know, why you bring this guy in specifically to play the Genji. And that's not even the biggest threat. You've got 2 fight-winning support ultimates about to come online, and Virtus.Pro, I mean, Captive Sun doesn't really hold a candle to an Orbital Ray.
Viper having a little weekend at Bernie's here. Rolled it. Oh, the deflects are so nasty every single time. Shockwave once again having a bit of a stinker. Why did he jump into Skewed as he detonated? What was he thinking? What was Runner thinking? I'm not gonna lie. The IQ score came back. It was negative.
My favorite thing about Viper in this entire matchup has been that homie just doesn't kill people. He just like passively exists in their vicinity and they die, whether it's his teammates or whether it's
Brownie
Fixa.
emotion.
It's absolutely incredible. But that Captive Sun from Gala, whether it meant to or not, got incredible value. Virtus.Pro flipping the point back over, and Donkhack has to go back in with the mine just to get a contest.
Out comes the bomb. Going to be able to contest Cart for a little bit, as of course the minefield has made it a little bit more difficult for the remainder of Virtus.Pro to stay on there for a while. T1 going to have to come in and try and keep this one tapped up. Oh, that's a miss from Proud on the slide, so overtime's going to go the way of Virtus.Pro here. First point capped.
And Fixa cleaning up, with the help of Gala, cleaning up Donkhack there. I'm curious if this stays. Hello, Skewed. You had no business staying around. Yeah, that's a little bit of a war going on between Skewed and Fixa at this point in time. I think that was absolutely warranted. Virtus.Pro getting the first cap, though, is absolutely massive. You can get this Yari set up at the back of the next point, make it all the more difficult to access him, and Donkhack gonna actually swap off the Wrecking Ball, recognizes that that is not working anymore, but going back to the Hazard, which has worked very well for him in the past.
Speed, power, and aggression here, and Fixer's feeling the brunt of all of it. Gala now going to be forced to sit back alone. Limited healing while in this isolated position means the remainder of the team is actually just going to be torn apart by Jwoo, taking out both supports in the back. Absolute miracles were demanded, and miracles were delivered. Jwoo earning their spot on this roster. Virtus.Pro should be able to get the first cap here as Donkhack slinks away with his Scottish tail between his legs.
It's not going to be all that much, it's not going to be all that comfortable. Fixa is back and's got some cookies for Vestola. He's happy to lap those back up, but T1 are already back in fighting form. Donkhack going in deep, jagged wall, making his presence felt on the point, and Vestola trying to hold the line.
Just trading health the percentage here as the remainder of the team return to the fray. Gala on the off angle. Missed a couple of shots onto Proud. It's true, but that's okay. Almost has himself a captive son for their efforts thus far. You actually get a cheeky flip in the midst of all this. All the members of Virtus.Pro are alive, and Vestola kind of feeds into 5. It's an uncanny position here. Out comes captive son. Best hero in the game, by the way. Gala just going to do their best to dodge away. Skewed, assaulted from on top. Jwu's there with the finisher. Jwu might actually have to be the hero once again. Dashes over towards a well-placed health pack, and that's a nice little bit of quick platforming there from Donghak. Someone's played their Donkey Kong.
Yeah, I don't think the heroics from Jwu are going to matter all that much. It's going to have to be Vestola. If Vestola kills Donghak here, okay, that's massive. Now you don't have the tank. Donghak was holding onto that downpour. Vestola, like, you don't really need Shockwave there to try and mount an offense here. You still have Jwu, and you have your backline. You can try and take the fight to T1. You do have to do it carefully, but Jwu with a pulse bomb? Not quite.
Still 2 cookies, and the third in the back line. Quick bash over onto the wayward Diva. Skewed is very dangerous. Customers try and deal with a Vigilante in the back. It's actually been mugged out by Vestola, and now the Bob complicates matters as well. Going to get that extra pressure on the point. Going to be an attempt to escape here from Viper. Fully charged rail. Really wants Gala, but Proud can't deliver. In this case, Viper in this one, going to be able to find one onto Jwu. Quick coach gun gives a little bit of space. So Virtus.Pro have managed to flip in the midst of all this as well. But they need to execute the stragglers. The hostage scenario needs to be turned around. Proud gets taken down at the last moment. Vigilante thinks that it's winnable with the orbital ray, and Viper seems to agree. It's a chorus of pain screamed out here by Virtus.Pro as the dying whimpers of the bear will be a heralding of victory for T1. And Vestola gets his 1.
I got my 1. Jwu going in. Can't really get a whole lot there, and that's going to be T1 capping. You said, you know, the exact win condition for Virtus.Pro. They needed to execute the stragglers, but they took too long. Vixa pops the rally to try and confirm 1 kill onto Proud, and that was all well and good, but he ends up trading his life as well to do it, and you can't be losing soldiers when you're trying to take down stragglers like that, because that's what opens the door for Vigilante and Viper to say, I bet Orbital Ray, Dragon Blade, we clean you up, we win the fight. We don't need it for the next fight because we're going to have this downpour as well, and Virtus.Pro have not a damn thing in the ult bank.
Shutting out those healers. Jwu isolated, perfectly placed wall there by Donghak, and that means that Vestola's feeling real lonely over here on the point. Downpour's ready to go as well. You can even catch 3 here. A Shockwave is back over onto the Castillo. Don't love it, but I may have to deal with it nonetheless. Nice wall placed up behind Vestola. Cuts off the LOS from those healers, who of course can't move while rooted in by the downpour of the Wayward Hazard. And T1 get their first cap.
Gala's going to be coming up on the Orbital Ray. That is Virtus.Pro's win condition. They have to try and get something with this. But going up against Skewed's rally, like, when Skewed pops that rally, he becomes all the more lethal. We've seen all of the whip shot kills that he's been getting all series long, and one of those could be the death nail for this point. And, I mean, if you're Virtus.Pro, you don't want to go down 2-1 on Flashpoint, because then you are as behind the 8 ball as you can possibly be. Rally comes out, and Virtus.Pro have to answer back.
Aggressive plays, Donghak in the back. The nano boost onto Shockwave here. It needs to deliver the value, but there's no value to be found. Oh, it's far from a meal deal. It's an absolute rip-off. It's Waitrose food over here as Jwu's going to chase down Vigilante. It's a difficult duel sometimes, but Jwu takes their time and makes it happen. Vestola just has to cross their arms and hope, but unfortunately, you're going to need more than gamer posters to get your way out of this one. Son Viper dashes away to the loving arms of the supports, and T1 are 10% away from capping their 2nd point.
I don't know if there's going to be a touch. Jwu's going to have to go in aggressively for the touch, but he's got the Dragon Blade. You would love for it to be somebody else, but you don't have anybody else. Shockwave going to pop the Deadeye, zone some members of T1 back. That might open the door, but we got to get our next touch, and here's the Blade.
Blade dragged out by Jwu, wants the Brigitte, but can't go too deep. It's going to be a counter-strike from Viper. Better Blade comes in 2nd. Oh, fixes the next victim to come on through. And while it might be serenely floating above the battleground for Gala, all they can do is watch their friends die. Vestola's last to fall. Overtime ticks away, and now T1 are 1 control point away from claiming a 4-0 series.
And wouldn't you know it, it's right next door. They don't have to travel far. It's in the neighborhood. You know, nice walkable city, this Suravasa. They can just get right to the next point. No muss, no fuss. T1 also have 2 of the most powerful ultimates on the field right now in the Orbital Ray and that Downpour. I mean, Donghak's downpours have been absolutely massive. Not having an Orbital Ray or anything really to match Vigilantes is going to be backbreaking in this next fight. Both coming out.
Fixer forgets to tilt their shield up. Doesn't stop the incoming route. Vestola once again all alone with no friends on the point. And Vigilante, well, they did invest the big Ray T1. They'll walk away with some real dividends for their purchases.
Virtus.Pro, they look boomed. I gotta be honest, like, Fixa popped the rally into that fight, thought that maybe they could stabilize, but it just never came to fruition, and now Skewed has a rally. Again, that is a lot to chunk through. The annihilation from Vestola, I don't think is gonna be enough. You need to make a play.
All the aggressions here. Vestola tries to shut them down now with the annihilation. Manages to find Skewed in a dark alley, but the dodge away is solid for now. The annihilation's gone. What is going on back here? Shockwave is being spawn capped by Donghack. Somebody save this man. Saving Private Shockwave's got to be on the cards right now as Jaywu does his best to play around the corner. Starting to get some real pressure onto this point and get it into the favor of Virtus.Pro. Moving over onto the Brigitte. It's a dangerous place to be ENG, but up close and personal gets a reset. Jaywu's finally starting to make it work. Dashes into a wall. It bounces him back at the worst possible time. Vipers doing their best with a little bit of HP remaining. Oh, that's an orbital rate.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that, because you definitely needed that for the next fight, but you are coming up on Jaywu's blade, so you don't have nothing. You still have at least a little bit of something, and you punish the over-aggression from Donghack, trying to, like you said, stuff Skewed in the spawn. That just opens the door for Vestola and Jaywu to waltz right in and take the point. The problem now is they have to hold it, and they have to make sure if they can't hold it, they get another contest. And at 81%, that is far from a guarantee.
Jaywu versus Viper, and the overclock is popped. Jaywu needs to get real value out of this right now. Already flummoxed by the wall. Doesn't want to go all the way over towards that Juno. Instead, it's going to settle for Viper. Manages to find himself a snake in the grass. And Jaywu holds on for dear life as Virtus.Pro dig in their claws.
That fight was over in the blink of an eye. Virtus.Pro didn't really have the time to build up to anything, and T1 are coming up on another orbital ray. Maybe this annihilation, maybe this rally, if Fixa and Vestola can make the most out of them. But this is the fight that Virtus.Pro have to win if they want to stay alive. If they lose this one, their tournament run is over. EMEA's pride gone. They found Viper!
Finding Viper early. Fixa trades it out in the other direction. Unideal. Proud's getting two with the Disruptor shot. How can man get so much value here? Shockwave hasn't existed in the series. Bro is shrouding his DPS right now. Doesn't know if he exists until he's observed, and I've observed and seen nothing. Vestola gets skewed down. It might well be a last chance saloon. Gala doing their best to survive. It's cookie after cookie being delivered. Diabetes looking dire over here as Gala continues to survive. What a peel from Fixa. But T1 are in control of a point in the midst of all this. Virtus.Pro can try and flip it around. And Shockwave once again has an angle, has an ult, has a chance for redemption. They're coming in right now, going up against the Blade. Viper dashes on in. Oh, it's a nice bit of peeling coming through. But Shockwave dies to a spike guard. Fixa as well. Gala's floating out over the ocean. Will once again step onto terra firma away from the Riviera. Now it's a third kill from a spike guard. It's a defensive utility. How has it got so much value? Virtus.Pro are slain. T1, they are back, and the SOOP Cup is cleanly claimed.
You ever seen the Revenant? You ever seen the Bears slain? I just have. T1 coming through with a 4-0 on the pride of EMEA, the best that the West had to offer, and they made it look easy. I get Virtus.Pro. It looked close the first couple of maps. It looked a lot less close on Rutasapi, and that looked absolutely boomed on Suravasa. T1 win the tournament. They silence the doubters. They answer the question, and they say, as they go into stage 2 of OWCS Korea, we have arrived.
Yeah, this is very much a signal to the remainder of Korea that T1 are not to be underestimated. That second stage is going to be where they try and make their comeback under such a huge legacy org. Surely it's Proud. Could actually be Viper. Donghack walking away. I mean, in that final fight, getting 3 final blows with the spike guard, kind of ludicrous, no? Player of the match going to be Donghack. I was particularly impressed by Proud, but I already had some real value for Donghack in my head after that Atlanta Rain run. It has been a fantastic performance thus far.
Yeah, perhaps one of the most veteran talents that's reached the highest heights on top of, from this T1 roster alongside that Atlanta Rain run, like you said. One of the most well-known, and for good reason. He is one of the best tanks in OWCS Korea, a great pickup for T1. That's why they went for this guy, because they know what he is capable of. And there were a couple times, I'll say, where it felt like he was trying to toy with Shockwave a little bit too much, go a little too aggressive, playing with Gala, playing with his food a little bit there. But when it actually comes time to put up or shut up, regardless of whatever hero homie is on, he is putting up LeBron numbers. Like you said, 3 with that spike guard, and 1 of them was on Shockwave. He's shutting down ultimates with a defensive ability that's just like on a resource meter. It's kind of insane how we allow Hazard to exist unchecked in this day and age, but hey, Donghack on this hero is something special, and if you put him on any dive hero, you will see profit.
Bro's a quick thinker on the walls as well when it comes to bringing up those spiked walls from the Hazard. Also, going toe-to-toe with Vestola on Orisa is no mean feat. Like, Vestola on Orisa, on Sigma, a very tough customer to deal with, especially on a map like Circuit Royale, where Sigma has such a huge advantage on that geography and really can dominate those maps. Being able to go toe-to-toe, huge feather in the cap of Donghack.
Yeah, I think it was, we go back to that Circuit Royale, and I think being able to go toe-to-toe on, not even on the Sigma, but being able to circumvent that with the Doomfist, with the Orisa, with the Winston all coming out, and the fact that you're able to get the win with that, like, that felt like Virtus.Pro's best shot. They expend that, and they just can't get it done. They go to Runasapi, they use that Brig Ban that we were all talking about to try and force Lucio. Skewed says, don't care, you know, didn't ask, and Donghack able to get massive value on the Hazard. There we go to Suravasa. Donghack identifies that the Wrecking Ball isn't getting the job done, so he switches to Hazard, and the game is completely different from the minute he makes that swap. It feels at times like there's a chance for Virtus.Pro, but every time you start to get that sensation, Donghack makes a play that chokes it out of them.
Yeah, real speedrun Overwatch here today at the SOOP Cup. NA summarily taken away by Way, and well, EMEA's best, Virtus.Pro. I mean, 4 of our talent over in Korea, and me included, expected for Virtus.Pro to be able to take this one away. I thought it was going to be close, but I thought Virtus.Pro were going to walk away with the series, if not with a couple maps. But T1 lights out today, and honestly, like, so much of it came down to Proud and Viper really putting on a clinic. I'm a real believer in the Viper Genji as well. Definitely seeing why he's being subbed in when you want to play a little bit less Tracer, a little bit more Genji. Viper's getting the bite in.
I think we definitely need to keep a close eye on this team when we go into the next season of OWCS Korea. I also think that we need to keep close eyes on Nightmare and Virtus.Pro as they go into Hangzhou Champions Clash. I think especially keep a close eye on Nightmare because Blink and you might miss their tournament run. Virtus.Pro do still stand a pretty good chance of going, making a deeper bracket run, but still coming out of it looking a little bit shaky because you've got the number 1 and 2 seeds in that tournament and you just lost 4-0 to the number 6 seed in Korea. Like, as much as I want to say that the West is narrowing the gap between itself and Korea, it's not, and that's evidence of that, I think.
Well, we don't have all of the NA and the NBA teams here, and that's the last word of cope that I have as well, Champions Clash coming on up. Here's a quick look at how the bracket's going to shake on out. Of course, VP going up against, once again, champions out of China coming up first, and Nightmare, they're up against Team CC, as I had to read what that logo was.
Yeah, Team CC. It's a C and a C. What's their...
Okay, they're both going up against Chinese teams where, like, the power rankings probably aren't as clear cut. Maybe they can get through the Chinese teams. I mean, Chinese teams were what? They were out of Overwatch for like a year and a half. That's enough time for EMEA and NA.
Yeah, that's enough time for us to catch up, I think. Virtus.Pro versus, once again, my heart is going to be ripped asunder by that map, or that match. Whatever happens there is going to be absolutely crazy. Again, Nightmare versus Team CC, I think, is going to be a matchup to watch. Because there is a realistic chance if that divide between China and the West has closed or narrowed, but I still have my doubts.
I imagine we're going to have Craig on to present the champions with the roses, etc. If it's at all similar to how we worked for Asia and Korea. Have our championship ceremonies. We walk on out. It's T1. It's been a while since I've been able to actually have one of these celebrations. It feels like it's probably been down in the T1 camp for a while now, but I feel like Vigilante, like, not only just bringing in a new player in terms of like the skill sets, but having a little bit of a fresh perspective and someone who doesn't have all the weight of to put it mildly, failure that surrounded T1 after stage 1 of Korea. Having someone who didn't have that weight on their shoulders and just had a little bit more, you know, youthful exuberance, could have really changed the dynamic of this team.
Yeah, he's breathing new life into this roster, and I fully expect with some of the changes that we've seen across a lot of the rosters in OWCS Korea that we're gonna see the dynamic shift in the next stage, and this is going to be a team to watch out for. That adjustment to Vigilante coming in has actually paid dividends. Like, we're talking a lot about Skewed, we're talking a lot about Proud, Viper, Donghack. We kind of left Vigilante out of the conversation a little bit today, and we really shouldn't, because he had some absolutely massive plays. Like, I immediately think of, you know, Vestola charging up a Gravitic Flux, like, in the blink of an eye on Sigma on Circuit Royale, and Vigilante just sleeps it out of midair from, like, 50 yards away. Like, homie hit the line drive straight at Vestola's dome and shut down a high-value ultimate, like, effortlessly.
All right, we don't have translations for the interview, so we're going to throw back to our own desk host over here with Rox to show off our wonderful faces before we close out the stream here. Hello.
Hello. Hello. Not disappointed. Not. You know what I mean? I mean, like, you know, I'm like a father right now. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed as we turn on the lo-fi beats to chill and talk about some Overwatch 2.
Lo-fi beats to mourn EMEA Overwatch 2.
Yeah, that was
the death of the West 2.
Yeah, the West has fallen. I'm sure that's a movie title. I am too young yet too unk to understand. What were some of the bright spots of that match for you guys specifically? Let's focus on the West first. I mean, because obviously 4-0, looking at the scoreline, and once again, we talked about it earlier. Oh yeah, 4-0, whatever, go home, kid. What were some of the bright spots for you guys?
As a certified Uyari hater, watching Uyari continuously lose was a big bright spot for me. Not gonna lie, I think she's a fantastic design. I just think that she's not a hero that works.
On a slightly more brighter note, you know, when it comes to VP, I would say that Jwoo has still continued to be a bright spot for this team. Vestola is still absolutely goated on the tank role, but I think we have learned that in a hero ban meta, you do also have to work around the other opposing tank's strengths and flexibilities. Like, we saw some weaknesses in Donghack's game, but he was able to circumvent those, and Vestola never really had that same level of sauce when forced out of his comfort zone. I think, though, if you can keep him on the Sigma, on the Ramatra, on the Orisa, it will pay off, but that's not foolproof.
Yeah, I think also Fixer popping off on the Lucio was a particular bright spot. Lige Gon Tower, still happening, it's still there. Maybe we need a little bit more coalescence around the Brig. Maybe that's a slight comms issue there for VP. I'm not entirely sure if that's something that they can be shoring up in the short time that we have left before we go over to Hangzhou for the Champions Clash. But Fix are definitely going to be one to watch out for on Lijiang Towers, or if they're going to be opening up on Control, so it's going to be on the table.
Yeah, Liar Tower, definitely one of the most common maps to open up on as teams kind of just feel each other out. But, you know, now let's talk about T1. I mean, I know you said you were a proud doubter before leg day, but how are you feeling about him now? I mean, that's
not the word he used. He said he was a proud atheist.
Yeah, he's a proud atheist. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to disrespect you like that.
Reddit is going to embrace you so warmly for that one.
Yeah, well, let's just say I'm going to be setting up a little shrine, lighting some candles tonight for all of Proud's victims. Yeah, definitely making me a bit of a believer, but like, I think that Proud managed to get a lot of value out of this series just by Viper having a great series as well. Having a credible second DPS threat can do so much for you as a star DPS, and that suddenly everyone's not looking at you. And Donghack playing like a maniac sometimes, just going super aggressive, has made a bunch of space for Proud to be able to, like, that's probably a big part of what got him the player of the match here. Just the absolute grug caveman plays we occasionally saw from Donghack, just sitting on top of Shockwave meant that it was so easy for Proud to win duels.
Yeah, like, I think back to Circuit Royale, and I'm like, I'm not seeing Proud, like, lighting up the kill feed. Runasapi was a different story. He was absolutely lighting up the kill feed there. But it's always like the kills that come through when you least expect it. You know, when you're not really paying too much attention, he just takes someone's head off and you never saw it coming, and now you're sent reeling. It's these high value picks at the right time. And that's something that not a lot of other hit scan players are doing right now. And I think that might be a big reason why the propaganda has been so widespread. And if not that, then it is performances like we saw at the end of Runasapi, where he's just like having his way with the entirety of VP.
Yeah, like you said, the Reddit will hear about this, and well, I think that's it from us. I hope you two enjoyed coming on. Thank you for coming on, of course, the Ex Oblivione broadcast.
Thanks for having me.
One more time, just so you don't forget, make sure you make an account on SOOPLive.com and follow us here at Ex Oblivione GG. We will be restreaming the VOD for today on the Purple site on our channel. Again, Ex Oblivione GG on all socials, and make sure you follow OW_esports_KR for all of the finest Korean Overwatch esports. And that's going to be it from us. So thank you very much for tuning in. Any last words from you two? Anything you guys want to plug?
Watch me stream on Purple site. Gaming.
Yeah, I guess we both have our Twitters, our Purple site links. I do also, of course, want to shout out Calling All Heroes, as is my want anytime I'm on camera. Support Ka.
Oh, wait, can you remind me who won Calling All Heroes this most recent tournament?
That would be Exo Sakura. The first half of that being Exo, so that was definitely you guys putting up a absolutely insane roster, by the way, and I look forward to seeing what they do next tournament and how the landscape in Calling All Heroes shifts. But we'll get to that when we get to it. That's another show.
Yeah, I would just like to say Molly #1. And that's what we'll end the broadcast on. Thank you guys very much for watching, and we will see you next time on Soup.